Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto fights like Minato during the Chunin exams part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. It was too late. The damage had already been done. The third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, waited for the chakra dome, made of the chakra chains that Kushina created due to her being an Uzumaki, to disappear before he made his way to the altar. The bodies of both Minato and Kushina lay there, lifeless and covered in blood. The only thing that was left from their struggle with the Kyuubi was Minato and Kushina's newly born child, Naruto. The elderly man tenderly held the boy in his arms, slowly rocking the infant back and forth in hopes to stop his crying. Lord Fourth chose his own son to be the vessel? One of the ANBU asked in confusion. Sarutobi nodded sadly. Minato knew no one else would be able to survive the sealing of the fox. Only an infant has the innocence to handle such a horrible act. What do we do now, Lord Hokage? A high-ranking Chunin questioned in solemn. The village is in ruins, and without Lord Fourth guiding us, what will happen now? The now unretired Hokage thought in silence while cradling the infant blonde in his arms. The will of fire will not burn out from this one tragedy. We will recover. But for now, I must tend young Naruto here. You're going to deal with a mere child before the village? The Chunin questioned again, sounding harsher than he intended. This child is a hero. Without him none of us would be here right now. You will give him the respect he deserves. Sarutobi shot back. The Chunin lowered his head and decided to not speak anymore, out of fear of angering the Hokage even more. My lord, an Anbu spoke up. I do not disagree that this child is a hero, but my hunch is that the village will not see it as you do. The older man raised his brow. Elaborate crow. The village citizens just witnessed the worst attack to ever hit the village. Not even Lords First and Second had to deal with such a tragedy. Many loved ones were killed by the demon that now lives inside that boy. They will blame him if they find out. Hiruzen lowered his eyes in deep thought. Crow did have a valid point. The amount of lives lost were already in the mid-hundreds and increasing at a current rate. He wished he could say that most of the villagers would see that Naruto was a hero for being the Kyuubi's container, but the older man knew better. Once word would get out that Naruto was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, his life would be in great danger. Not to mention Minato's enemies, Sarutobi was all but certain that they would stop at nothing to take revenge on Minato by killing his infant son. Feeling the greatest amount of guilt in his life, the third Hokage nodded sadly once more. I wish I could disagree with you, Crow, but I know you have a point. Naruto will be their scapegoat for their anger. The ANBU operative nodded. What do you want to do with him then, my lord? We'll keep his existence out of public knowledge for the time being, at least until I figure out a plan to protect the boy. In the meantime, I'll keep him in my office, so I can watch over him personally. A few days passed since the attack and things went from bad to worse. Not only did Naruto being the container for the Kyuubi leak out into the public, but the blame for the attack itself was being placed on the prestigious Uchiha clan, which already had draining relations with Konoha higher-ups. Sarutobi was aware of the fact that Danzo Shimura ordered the Uchiha clan to focus solely on defending the villagers. This was starting to cause a bigger rift between the clan and village. The third Hokage was already dealing with the Uchiha problem and had a plan in the works to help their relationship, but the man's main concern was Naruto's safety. Sarutobi blew smoke out of his mouth and placed his pipe on his desk, listening to the infant child softly sleep in his makeshift crib next to Sarutobi's desk. He wasn't sure if his plan for Naruto was certainly the best, but it was the only one that had ghost of a chance to give the boy somewhat of a normal life growing up. Granted, the man the Hokage wanted to have watch over Naruto wasn't considered normal by most people, but having the boy's godfather look after him seemed like a good idea. There was a knock at the Hokage's door. Sarutobi briefly thought that Jiraiya had arrived but quickly dismissed that thought. He would be notified by gate patrol when the Sannin would enter the village. Also, Jiraiya would probably enter through the window and not the door. Enter. Someone the Hokage should have been expecting to see, but seeing Mikoto Uchiha walk in with her own infant son, Sasuke, and 6-year-old, Itachi, did surprise the elder Hokage. The man didn't need to ask why the wife Fugaku, the head of both the Uchiha clan and Konoha's military police force, was in his office. He knew that she was very close friends with Kushina. Lord Hokage, Mikoto quietly gasped. The man was in worse condition than she had originally thought. His arms were completely bandaged, and he was covered in bruises and burns. Do not concern yourself with my injuries, Mikoto. I will be all right. The black-haired Uchiha woman nodded slightly. I'm sorry to hear about your wife. Sarutobi did not say anything in response. He just nodded and let Mikoto do what she had come here to do. Mikoto placed Sasuke in Itachi's arms and scooped Naruto in her own. She smiled softly at the three whisker-like birthmarks on the child's face. Mikoto's smile didn't last for very long. She knew what the villagers were saying about Naruto, and the Uchiha clan in extension. What are you going to do with him? I've sent word to Jiraiya to return home. I will try and convince him to take care of Naruto until this catastrophe is behind us and give the villagers a chance to calm down. A chance to see Naruto as the hero Minato wanted him to be. Mikoto placed the infant Naruto back in his crib and looked back at the Hokage. You're sending him away with Lord Jiraiya? Is that really the best decision? Lord Jiraiya is very well known to attract some unwelcomed individuals. Sarutobi chuckled dryly at that. I'm well aware, but I'm confident that Naruto's godfather will take up the responsibility. Godfather? Yes. Jiraiya is Naruto's godfather. I'm actually surprised you didn't know that, being how close you and Kushina were. I didn't get to see her much in her last trimester. When I saw her last week, it was the first time in 2 months. Her pregnancy was a SS rank secret, Mikoto. Not even the council members knew Kushina was pregnant. Hell, I wasn't made fully aware of it until a few months ago. I think the only people who knew what was going on from the beginning were you and Jiraiya, and that's only because of how close you two were to Minato and Kushina. But do you really think sending Naruto off with Lord Jiraiya is the smartest decision? He has a lot of enemies that would love to get their hands on the nine-tailed fox, and the fourth Hokage's son. I've already come up with a plan for that. The two were drawn to the window to see the legendary Sannin, Jiraiya, hopping into the office through the left open window. While Sarutobi was not shocked to see his student, he was concerned by the fact he was supposed to be alerted by one of the guards that the Sannin had arrived. The elder man just figured Jiraiya used his amazing stealth skills to enter the village walls. The white-haired man walked over to the makeshift crib. He softly smiled at the sleeping infant. You look just like your father, he whispered tenderly. The tone in the room suddenly turned serious. Jiraiya, I am requesting that you. You don't need to ask, sensei. When I got your scroll, I knew what I had to do. I will take the boy and watch over him. Minato asked me to be Naruto's godfather because he had faith in me to help raise him. I will not bow out from this promise. Sarutobi smiled. He knew Jiraiya would step up. If only his other student would return from her downward spiral and see that the village needs its Sannin back. The third Hokage inwardly sighed at the thought of his female student and her current state. It seems Tsunade had cut off the rest of the world and is continually trying to drown her sorrow in sake and gambling. Sarutobi has tried to reach out to the world-class medic, but unfortunately, even, he could not reason with Tsunade. There was also the matter of finding the woman. Tsunade, somehow, was not the easiest person to find these days. Master Jiraiya, Mikoto spoke up, if you don't mind me asking, what is your plan regarding Naruto? No. The third Hokage suddenly stated. The less any of us know, the better for Naruto. Somehow, word has gotten out that he is the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. I'm looking into the leak, but, as of right now, we cannot risk Naruto's safety if Jiraiya's plan will leak out into the public as well. Mikoto wasn't happy to hear this, and apparently Sasuke wasn't either. He started to cry in Itachi's arms. The young boy, who was already considered a genius, did what he could to try and calm his younger brother, but Mikoto knew her newborn was starting to get hungry. They would need to return home soon. Very well. She sighed, taking Sasuke into her arms. I came here with the intentions of convincing you to let me raise Naruto, but it seems your mind set on letting Lord Jiraiya watch over him. Mikoto, Sarutobi started, if the situation were different, I'd love nothing more than to let Naruto be raised by you. But the Uchiha clan is being blamed for unleashing the Kyuubi on the village. As ridiculous as that sounds, the image of your clan would be tarnished completely, even more if the villagers saw him within the Uchiha compound. Then there is the issue with the investigation. Mikoto decided it best to keep her comments to herself, knowing they would lead to an argument that was not her place to have without her husband and her children present. Itachi was too young to know what about the Uchiha clan had been accused of doing, though Mikoto knew her older son was sharper than most adults despite his young age. Please take care of him. Mikoto took hold of Itachi's hand and left the office. Sarutobi shook his head and took another hit off his pipe. Mikoto may not be a firecracker like Kushina, but one all in the same. Jiraiya felt no need to respond. Mikoto was the silent type that you never wanted to piss off. He could only recall ever hearing of Mikoto losing her temper once, and Fugaku, who was considered on par with Minato to be named the fourth Hokage and gained his own nickname Wicked Eye during the Third Great Shinobi War, cowered away from his wife. He thanked Kami that he never felt that woman's anger, but Tsunade's was probably just as bad and probably worse. The legendary Sannin took his godson into his arms and held him somewhat awkwardly. Admittedly, this was the first time he had ever held a baby, and he had no clue what to do. He remembered something that Tsunade told him once about making sure the head is held properly. He wasn't why they were talking about babies. He dismissed his confusion by thinking it probably had something to do with Dan, her former lover/fiancé. Jiraiya was about to leave but stopped when he noticed the monotone expression on his teacher's face. It wasn't often that Sarutobi would show this expression. He knew the old man was deeply worried for Naruto and his future, and leaving it up to him was probably not the easiest thing for the old man to let happen. It wasn't because Sarutobi didn't trust Jiraiya. It was just Sarutobi felt like he owed Minato for saving the village. Raising and training his son seemed like a good way to repay that debt. I'll send updates, sensei. I know Jiraiya, I know. The third Hokage sighed. Just don't keep him away forever. I want him to go through the academy at some point. Jiraiya chuckled. This kid is going to be a powerhouse when he grows up. I just hope he got his father's brains and not just his looks. As do I, Sarutobi softly laughed. 6 quick years has passed since the Kyuubi attacked the village. Konoha recovered completely from the horrible attack architecturally, but from the political standpoint things could not be any worse. The already tense relations with the Uchiha clan fell through broken glass when the council made the rash decision to move the Uchiha compound to the far edge of the village, practically isolating them from the entire village. Somehow things were made even worse when Itachi, the young genius prodigy of the Uchiha clan, joined the ranks of the ANBU Black Ops. While that was something that entire Shinobi Council predicted when the boy showed the signs of being the genius he was becoming, Sarutobi felt an oddity with Itachi's sudden jump into the ANBU ranks. Itachi never expressed any want to be in ANBU. The young boy was a pacifist. Sarutobi chose to look into the matter by calling Itachi into his office. The third Hokage questioned the Uchiha prodigy about his reasons for his sudden interest in an ANBU life. Itachi didn't say much other than he wants to save the village and the Uchiha clan, but he knew only one could come out on top. Sarutobi had a sinking feeling that the Uchiha were planning something, and his talk with Itachi just confirmed it. When Sarutobi questioned if the Uchiha were planning, Itachi told everything about coup d'etat his father and the other Uchiha higher-ups were working on, and how him joining ANBU was to be a double agent to try and achieve peace between the two, and his best friend, Shursui, was doing the same but on the regular shinobi level. And on top of it all, there hadn't been any updates on Naruto, and how his is growing up from Jiraiya. The only update the perverted Sannin had sent was a few months after Jiraiya had taken him out of the village and left him with the Sage Toads, Lord Fukasaku and Lady Shima, while he checked his spy network for anything that could be taken as a threat towards Konoha. Other than that, Jiraiya kept Naruto with him as he moved around the world. Thankfully, there was nothing from the other nations and showed no indication of even knowing about the Kyuubi's attack to begin with. There was always one silver lining in an overall bad situation. Still, Sarutobi was worried about Naruto and growing up without much interaction with children his age, or even people in general. There was a knock that tore the third Hokage from his deep thoughts. Enter. The legendary Toad Sage himself walked through the door. Long time no see, sensei. Jiraiya Sarutobi looked beyond his longtime student. Is Naruto with you? Jiraiya chuckled. He is, but he saw the Ichiraku ramen shop and couldn't help himself. This is the first time he's been inside the village since his birth. How does he know about Ichiraku ramen? Lady Shima decided bugs and insects weren't the best diet for a growing boy. Whenever she would come to the village for indigents, she would pick up some instant ramen for Naruto as a treat for completing his training. Or not causing me too much trouble out on the road. The Toads have taken a liking to him, I take it? Of course, he is Minato's son after all. You mentioned training? Jiraiya smiled. Naruto is a natural-born ninja, everything comes to him with ease. We've only taught him what he'd learned through the academy, but it's a breeze for him. The man's smile suddenly disappeared. Though, that's only because he found my book. He reached into his green kimono and pulled out the very book the white-haired man was talking about. Sarutobi was glad to see that it wasn't the famous Ika Tactics perverted book that Jiraiya had written but the man's very first book he had ever written, The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi. Sarutobi had to think for a moment about why this book was the reason for Naruto being a natural. It clicked in the old man's brain. He learned about his name. Near the village center, down the main road that led through Konoha, the villagers' lives were going on as per usual. Everything was turning out to be another normal day. One of the many shops on that main drag was rather popular ramen restaurant. Ichiraku Ramen read the entrance kanji signs that acted as the door that came down to that of an average height person's waist. Sitting at one of the many stools was a young boy, maybe 5 or 6, with spiky blonde hair and 3 distinctive whisker birthmarks on each of his cheeks. He was wearing a black short-sleeved shirt with red swirl on his chest, a pair of white, almost gray, shorts and dark blue ninja sandals. Naruto was in heaven as he drank the last of the ramen-flavored water out of the bowl, finishing off his fourth bowl. He knew Erosen and wanted him to go see the old man with him, but he just couldn't help himself when they walked past the ramen shop. Though Naruto was a little surprised Jiraiya didn't come after him when he ran off, or even decide to come in and join him for a bowl. The young blonde didn't have to think very hard why his master and caretaker didn't follow him. It was probably because of that. He mentally shook his head at the memory. Why would they keep something like this from him? What was the purpose? To protect him? From what? Grandpa Sage did, accidentally, tell him once that the villagers probably wouldn't very welcome towards him whenever he would return to the village. When Naruto questioned what the elder toad meant by that, Jiraiya appeared suddenly and stopped Fukasaku before the toad could say any more. Then, a month or so later, Naruto found that book when Shima tasked him to clean up around him and Jiraiya's room she kept for them whenever they returned to the toad's hidden village in the mountains. It was completely accidental that Naruto even found the book. He was simply moving around a few objects on the purse shelf when it suddenly fell out of its hiding spot. Naruto was very intrigued by the book's title, The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi, and instantly rushed off to a hiding spot to read it. To say he loved the book was understatement. Everything from the plot to the character development of the minor characters was masterful in the young boy's mind. Even though Naruto loved the book, there was one glaring problem that he couldn't overlook. The main character's name was his very own. He wanted to go and find Jiraiya to question him about it when he first saw his name written in the book, but felt he should finish the book first. Maybe his questions would be answered if he did. When Naruto closed the book when finished with the masterpiece, it did not take him long to find the legendary Sannin. "Hey kid, you full yet or you want another bowl?" asked the owner/cook. Naruto snapped out of his thoughts and looked up from his empty bowl. Honestly, Naruto knew he could put another 3 bowls away before deciding it was enough, but he lost his appetite when he started thinking about everything that had happened. He reached into his pocket and pulled out as much Ryo as he had, which wasn't much. "Will this be enough?" The man chuckled. "Sure, kid." He took the small amount of money from the boy and watched him leave his restaurant. He placed the money in the tip jar he kept at the end of the counter, knowing there was no point in putting the small amount in the register. "You do realize that kid's severely underpaid, right, Tucci?" one of few customers pointed out. "Oh, I know," Tucci answered with a half-smile. "Then why'd you let him leave?" "I noticed something about him. The way he was sitting there thinking, not many kids his age looks longingly like that. I felt like he needed to catch a break for once." Naruto looked around the large-scale village in awe as he exited the ramen shop. Jiraiya had told him stories of how great this village was and how it was the strongest in all the 5 great shinobi nations. But to finally see it in person was far better than hearing about it. He looked toward the large mountain with the faces of the 4 Hokage carved into the side of it, knowing the old man's office was directly below it. The stories, not only Jiraiya had told him but Fukasaku had told him about all the Hokages were legendary. From Lord First's battle with the great Madara Uchiha to Lord Second's last stand against the Kumo Death Squad to save his team, that included the 3rd Hokage who was already considered a god of shinobi at the point of his inauguration. Then there was him, the 4th Hokage. Naruto still didn't know the full story of the late, great 4th Hokage, assuming there was one to know like the rest of the Hokage. Lord Fourth's legend was something different from the other 3 Hokages. Not that the other Hokages were lacking in feats, but there's something different about the man known as the Yellow Flash. Not only did the 4th Hokage single-handedly turn the tide and win the 3rd Great Shinobi War with his improved version of the Hiraishin, a time-space ninjutsu that allows instant teleportation to a previously placed special seal formula that was created by the 2nd Hokage, and his own invented jutsu the Rasengan, the 4th Hokage was the youngest Kage ever to be named. He was a mere 24 years old when he was named Hokage. Many considered him the mythical savior that the world needed to help stop the endless war that plagued it, so said Jiraiya anyway. But when he suddenly died fighting against the Kyuubi, something didn't sit right with Naruto. Fukasaku taught him the basics of sealing techniques and how they work. It was a dying concept among active ninja and Naruto seemed to grasp the idea well, despite his young age. And it was almost obvious that the Kyuubi wasn't a normal being, considering the fact that it nearly leveled Konoha completely with one attack. So, it bothered Naruto when he was told that the Kyuubi was simply killed by the 4th Hokage in his final breath. Naruto had a hunch that a being like the Kyuubi couldn't just be killed like that. It would make more sense to seal that beast away into something, or someone. As Naruto made his way through the village, towards the Hokage Tower, he began to notice and hear murmurs and whispers of the villagers he walked past. Those whiskers. Is he the one? That's gotta be him. Naruto turned his focus away from what was in front of him and tried to listen more on what was being said around him, until he ran into something that knocked him on his back and hitting his head on the ground. The young blonde rubbed the back of his head and opened his eyes to see what he ran into too. Naruto was shocked to see a ninja standing before him, a high-ranking one at that. "I'm sorry, mister. I wasn't watching where I was going." Naruto stopped when he saw the man's hateful glare to him. "It is you. The demon." Naruto's eyes widened considerably. "Demon? What do you mean?" The young boy quivered. Villagers began to surround the young boy like a large pack of wolves, harboring their own hateful glares that fell on terrified young boy. It wasn't long before a large mass of people had formed around Naruto and the ninja that he had bumped into. Soon the villagers began to shout and scream like a mob, all words of hate directed towards young Naruto. Beginning to fear for his own life, Naruto ran and fought through the growing mob of people in hopes of finding safety. He was cut, kicked, punched, spit on, and screamed like a leper. It took most of the young boy's strength to fight his way out, but he managed to do so. He didn't even bother trying to find Jiraiya. He wasn't familiar with the village enough to find another route to the Hokage's office. So, Naruto picked the clearest way and ran for his young life. Whether it be a stroke of luck or an act of God, Naruto was somehow able to lose the mob that was chasing him like hungry wolves. He sprinted through an alleyway, ran through a couple open houses, and hid under a red bridge that ran over a medium-sized pond. He breathed heavily as he tried to nurse his deep cuts and already tender bruises. The salt from his tears burned his cuts. "What did I do?" he sobbed, trying to handle the pain of his injuries. "Why did he call me a demon?" Naruto didn't try to hide or calm his sobs. He was in too much pain to do so. It may have been quiet enough to ignore but not quite enough to attract someone. He sobbed into his knees, hiding his face from the world and hoping no one would find. "Hey, are you okay?" The young boy physically flinched. Someone had spoken to him. He must have been crying too hard to notice someone come near him. He removed his head from his knees and looked at the person. It was a young girl, probably his same age, with bright short pink hair and a red ribbon tied into it. Her jade-green eyes weren't filled with much concern, more curiosity than anything else for someone her age. The young girl saw the boy flinch when she spoke. "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you." She heard the boy sobbing underneath the bridge when she was walking over it, trying to catch up to her parents because she wanted to pick a few of her favorite flowers, yellow lilies. "My name is Sakura. What's yours?" Naruto sniffled. Naruto Uzumaki. He noticed the flowers in the young girl's hands. "Why do you have those flowers?" "I was walking with my mom and dad and I saw a small patch of them. They're my favorite kind of flower." She took one of the many she had and handed it over to Naruto. "Here." Naruto was stunned. "For me?" Sakura smiled and nodded. "You look like you need a pick-me-up. Why are you all beat up?" Naruto sniffled again, his tears finally starting to subside. His eyes went downcast. "The villa." "Sakura, where are you?" "I'm down here, Mom." "Sakura, what on earth are you doing under here?" The dark blonde woman's voice trailed off when she saw the boy next to her daughter. "Sakura, get over here now." Sakura was confused. It was rare for her mother to use this kind of tone of voice. "And Mom?" "Right now, young lady." Not wanting to feel her mother's wrath, Sakura rushed to her mother's side without a second thought. Sakura's mother quickly grabbed a hold of Sakura's small hand and took her away from the cut and bruised blonde boy. Sakura was surprised by the sudden jerk from her mother that she dropped the flowers she had picked. "My flowers." Naruto barely had any time to try and say something to ask why before he heard another yelling of the mob that he had just gotten away from. He struggled to his feet and began to run once more. He ran as fast as he could, but his injuries and straight exhaustion were too much for the young boy. He made it only so far before he collapsed in the middle of the street. The mob of enraged villagers wasn't too far behind. Naruto could see the mob that had been chasing him, then everything went black. A giant beast stirred behind a massive red gate which was held shut by nothing more than a simple piece of tan paper with the kanji for seal written in black. The large animal had been patiently waiting for the blonde-haired boy to wake from his sleep. The animal didn't understand how the young boy could sleep in a foot of water without waking up. Finally, the boy was starting to wake up because he was splashing out of shock. Naruto coughed up a little bit of water as he abruptly sat up in the water. He first gathered his breathing before taking in his new surroundings. He was in a gloomily lit area that had piping trailing along the ceiling, combined with the foot of water he was sitting in, gave Naruto the impression that he was in some sort of sewer. There wasn't much he could see in front of him. It surprised him to see that he was walking down a large, long hallway that came to a giant gate. Curiosity had Naruto as he looked over the gate, noting that the only thing that was keeping it closed was a simple piece of paper. He was moving closer to see if anything was inside the enormous cell but stopped when a booming voice echoed throughout the place. "Hello, Kit." As would any normal 6-year-old kid, Naruto was frightened and stumbled on shaky legs until he tripped over himself and fell back on his rear end. Using what nerve the young boy could muster up, Naruto shakily spoke up. "Who's there?" The answer was quick. "Do not be afraid of me, Kit, please. I'm not going to harm you." Naruto swallowed down his fear as much as he could, something that was easy to do for someone his age, as he waited for the deep voice to continue. He was young, yes, but that didn't mean he was stupid enough to trust this thing. Jiraiya had taught him better. "I know you have some questions and I'll cover the most obvious ones right now, but if you have any more then I'll gladly answer them for you." Naruto was still scared, but nothing was harming him right now. He was glad for that right now, there were no villagers or anything in sight. So, he figured he would let this thing speak, then he'd ask a question or two when it was done. "This place is, well, the easiest way I can put this is we're inside your mind. How you got here is relatively the same. You were just beaten to a pulp, and naturally, this is where you will go when you lose consciousness." Naruto watched the darkness that covered the inside of the cell as he waited for the deep, booming voice to speak again. "Okay, but what are you? Who are you? And how do I know you won't hurt me?" The young boy quivered. There was a rather loud sigh before the voice responded to his question. "Well, I know you've heard of the Kyuubi no Yoko, or better known as the Nine-Tailed Fox. So, your hunch was correct about the fourth Hokage." Naruto stared blankly into the darkness, taking in the words that the Kyuubi had just told him. The fox was thoroughly surprised that the young boy didn't freak out, he seemed to be taking it well. At least, that was before the words finally set in. "Why, you mean that the fourth Hokage sealed the Kyuubi inside me?" The Kyuubi once again, inwardly, sighed as he nodded, though Naruto couldn't see it. "Yes, he did. But there was." "Then there's no way you won't kill me." Naruto curled up into the fetal position as he began to sob in fear. The nine-tailed fox didn't answer for a short period of time as he listened to the faint crying of the 6-year-old blonde boy that sat just beyond his prison cell. "Kid, it's okay, I'm not going to hurt you. Not only do I not want to, but if I kill you then I kill myself. So please don't be afraid of me." The crying slowly dwindled until there was only a few sniffles of a runny nose. The young boy was beginning to understand that the beast meant no ill intent towards him. He rubbed his face clean of any tears and snot that fell from his running nose. "So, why did Lord Fourth choose me?" "Well, why he chose you is a story for a different time. I'm not sure why those fucks you call leaders decided to keep you hidden away with that perverted man. Honestly, I think they made your situation worse because they sent you away." "What do you mean?" This village had been relatively untouched since its creation by the first Hokage and Madara Uchiha. There hasn't been a major conflict near the village walls since then. So, the current generation of villagers have never seen power like I possess. They fear it, loathe it, and utterly hate me for killing their loved ones. I do not blame them for hating me, but it is wrong to take out their fear-induced rage on you. I'm positive with you being gone with that pervert, the villagers had calmed but not forgotten. Seeing you for the first time in 6 years reignited their anger. So, they chased and hurt me because they fear me? Well, you aren't completely wrong, but their fear is more placed on me than you, Kit. The basics of how sealing jutsus are no longer taught in your academy, haven't been in decades. That pervert you call a caretaker is the last known Fuinjutsu master, and even he hasn't tapped into the full potential of sealing. Hell, the fourth Hokage was considered better than the Sannin, and he still had room for improvement. But he sealed you away inside me, that's pretty impressive," Naruto quipped, causing the fox to groan in annoyance. "Be quiet, Kit. Being a newborn, your chakra coils weren't fully developed, which made sealing me inside of you 100 times easier. If anyone else was in your place, then I would still be free." Naruto suddenly went downcast at the Kyuubi's last comment. "If anyone else was in my place, so it was pure coincidence that you were sealed in me." Kyuubi knew if he didn't word this right then he could really screw this kid up more than he already was. The beast still couldn't understand why that stupid third Hokage was keeping so many secrets from the boy. He was starting to put some of the pieces together with the discovery of where his name had come from, but things could possibly turn badly if that damn Kage didn't man up soon. Or that perverted Sannin. Both of them could turn this kid into their worst nightmare if they fuck it up. Life isn't fair, Kit. Sometimes shit happens that is out of your control and you just must roll with the punches. But you must understand that the fourth Hokage was trying to make you a hero. The village, however, didn't see you the way he, or the third, wanted. Don't be angry with him, he was doing what he thought was best for the village. If it wasn't for you then the village would have been destroyed and you wouldn't even exist right now. Naruto nodded understandingly as he looked back through the gate. He was surprised by the Kyuubi and why he was taking the time to just talk to him. From the stories that Jiraiya had told him, the fox demon was full of hate and wouldn't hesitate to kill whoever simply annoyed him. Why are you telling me all this? If Naruto could see the demon's features, he would see a soft, compassion half-smirk. Your life as a Jinchuriki will never be normal, kid. I know you hadn't had the stability of staying in one place for long. Life will not be easy for you. You know, despite your young age, that the world is not pretty. You may have had a caretaker in the Sannin, but the pain of not knowing who your real parents are is something not many understand. Hell, life in this village will be difficult on its own because the people hate you for a decision that was far out of your control. I want you to be a great ninja so this ignorant village to see just how wrong they are about you. Naruto could only think about how much he wanted that to be the case as his vision of the gate and environment quickly started to blur, then everything went black. Good luck, kid. Jiraiya had not left Naruto's hospital room since he had brought him in the day before. There were two reasons why he had stayed and not gone out on a rage-filled rampage against the villagers. The first was to watch over him and make sure his condition didn't worsen. Fear had overtaken him that if he left the boy would die. The second reason was to protect Naruto from those who wished the young boy harm. The Sannin knew that Sarutobi had assigned Anbu to watch over the room and only allow a trusted doctor, himself, or Jiraiya into the room. Currently, the Toad Sannin was staring out the lone window in the room as he dealt with the unmeasurable anger that coursed through his veins. Naruto had barely been in the village for a few hours and somehow been recognized as the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. The poor boy didn't even do anything to anger the villagers. They simply noticed who he was and attacked him. Jiraiya knew it was too early to bring him back. The villagers still held that grudge against Kyuubi for taking their family members away from them. Though Jiraiya's anger wasn't solely placed on the villagers, he held some anger towards his sensei as well. An Anbu, who was Minato's sole surviving student Kakashi Hatake, burst into the Hokage's office, informing them of what was happening with Naruto. Jiraiya rushed to the blonde boy's side. He had to literally throw a villager off Naruto before he could take Naruto to the hospital. Once there, medical personnel did what they could for the boy, which wasn't much by what Jiraiya saw them do. Sarutobi finally showed up a few hours later. The silence between the two was short-lived before the third Hokage dropped the bomb on him. I have a mission for you, Jiraiya. Jiraiya kept his mouth shut throughout the entire briefing. A team of ANBU had gone missing after reporting a sighting of a mysterious masked man. No further reports followed. Sarutobi believed they had been killed and wanted his trusted spy master to investigate their disappearance. The old man said it would only take a couple of weeks, a month at most, and that Naruto could stay with him until Jiraiya returned. But the Sannin knew better. A mission like this would take, at the very least, 6 months. Honestly, there was no telling how long this mission would take because there hadn't been anything on a masked man coming from his contacts in his spy network. He would have to start from scratch. Sarutobi said he had a choice to take the mission or not. What the Hokage really meant was that Jiraiya had the choice to either wait until Naruto woke up to leave or leave now and save the trouble of telling why Jiraiya had left him here up to Sarutobi and the elders. The Sannin really couldn't see which choice was worse. He thought about his decision thoroughly, knowing the longer he took here the more time this masked man would have to disappear into the world. This wouldn't be the first time Jiraiya would just suddenly leave without as so much as a goodbye, but Naruto was with the Toads when he wasn't with them out in the world. Jiraiya didn't see this as the best choice but the quickest and easiest, not to mention cowardly. Jiraiya took one long look at his godson, knowing this would be the last time he'd be seeing him for some time, before opening the window and jumping out, leaving the still unconscious boy. Naruto awoke some time after his Jiraiya left. He was surprised to see that he was mostly healed from his injuries. He was a little sore, but it was nothing the young boy couldn't handle. Naruto waited patiently for his caretaker to come visit him, but the man never came. Not even the third Hokage showed his face. Naruto waited for hours for 2 men that would never come. There was a knock at the door and a man with silver hair that seemed to defy gravity with a fox mask that covered his face entered the room. Naruto instantly figured out that this guy was a member of the ANBU Black Ops. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto did his best to keep his composure, but the ANBU still could see the fear and distrust in the young boy's eyes, and the man didn't blame the child one bit. Why, yes? Lord Hokage wants to see you. I'll take you to him. Naruto followed the ANBU through the streets of the village to the Hokage Tower, ignoring the glares of the villagers that were stopped when the masked ANBU shot them a glare of his own. Once the two made it to the tower, the ANBU led Naruto up the stairs and entered the office without even knocking. Sarutobi didn't even flinch when the two entered, just softly smiled. Thank you, Kakashi, that'll be all for now. The ANBU bowed before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Naruto stared at the elderly man with caution. He wasn't sure what he was supposed to do. This was the first time he had ever met the third Hokage. Jiraiya had told him a lot about this man, so already felt a closeness to the man, but meeting for the first time felt awkward. There is no need to be weary of me, Naruto. I'm here to help you. Help me with what? Where's Ero-sennin? Naruto, please try to understand when I tell you this. Jiraiya has left the village. He what? Naruto quivered. Something came up and it couldn't wait to be taken care of. I apologize for Jiraiya because he couldn't wait for you wake up to say goodbye. The circumstances didn't allow him to linger around and waste time. Waste of time? Is that all I was to Ero-sennin? Naruto lowered his head as the words set themselves deep inside Naruto's mind, almost as if the words themselves completely altered the boy's way of thinking the second they were said. He was now stuck in this village alone. It was a new feeling, but it felt so familiar to him. I see. I know you aren't a fan of this, Naruto. But Jiraiya has left you in my care until he returns. Also, I will be overseeing your training that you will be receiving along with the teachings of the academy. That sparked Naruto's interest. Academy? Of course. You want to be a great ninja, don't you? Naruto's mind snapped back to his conversation with the beast within him. A newfound determination surprised the third Hokage. Yes. I want to show this village how wrong they are about me. Sarutobi raised his eyebrow at the young boy's choice of words. What do you mean, Naruto? I promised someone I'd be the greatest ninja in the village. I don't intend to let him down. Sarutobi thought about the boy's words. Who was this mysterious person that challenged Naruto to become a great ninja? Was it Jiraiya? Did he leave something for Naruto before leaving on his mission? Or was it promised to himself just to prove the villagers wrong? Something must have happened after Jiraiya saved Naruto from the mob and brought him to the hospital. So Ojaizen, Naruto started, causing the elderly man to smirk, you mentioned that you'd be overseeing my training that I'll be doing outside of the academy. What kind of training did you have in mind? In due time, Naruto, we'll get to that soon enough. Sarutobi reached into his desk and pulled out 2 wristbands and unique scroll that had a padlock seal etched onto the paper, sealing the scrolls shut. But here, this will be a good start for you. Naruto looked over the wristbands. What are these? Chakra weights. These are special training tools that help with making you stronger and faster. Naruto nodded as he glanced at the third once more. How do I use them? It's quite simple. All you have to do is pump chakra into them like you would when creating a bushin. The more chakra you put into the weights, the heavier they will be. If you put too much into the weights and it proves to be too much, just decrease the amount of chakra in them to the weight you want. So, essentially these chakra weights will also help with your chakra control. After Sarutobi was done explaining, the blonde looked down at the weights in his hands. He placed them around his ankles and pumped some chakra into them. He instantly felt the weight. Thank you, Ojaizen, these will help me big time. Naruto, you do realize those weights are made for your wrists and not your legs? Naruto nodded. I know that, I figured this would be a smarter thing to do for now. I want to work on my speed first, it'll help in the long run over strength. Sarutobi's eyes widened slightly. Jiraiya wasn't kidding when said Naruto is just as good as Minato when he was a child. He analyzed the pros and cons of using the weights and thought of whole new use for them. Impressive. So, what's the deal with that scroll? This another special tool, though it still needs perfecting. This is a chakra scroll. It was made to carry various items for traveling, battle, or simply storage. All you need do to access this scroll is learn the jutsu that the scroll was sealed with. Once I teach it to you, you'll have access to the scrolls that I placed in there that I thought would be good baseline for you to start learning. What kind of scrolls are in there? A jutsu from every chakra nature and a scroll for the basics of chakra control. Once you are finished with the scrolls already in there, you can come back and take from my library of scrolls as you wish. Though I recommend finishing the you take before coming back to take more. Naruto nodded and beamed with excitement. He was ready to get started with this training. Sarutobi loved to see the enthusiasm in such a young boy. It's good to see so excited Naruto, but I'm afraid you can't start just yet. What? Why not? I enrolled you into the Ninja Academy and classes start tomorrow. I don't want you to be tired for your first day, seeing how you have a little bit of work ahead of you. What do you mean? Unfortunately, Naruto, I can't watch over you constantly like Jiraiya did. So, you will be living on your own in an apartment I've chosen for you. Here is the key and the money for the down payment and first few months of rent, plus expenses like food. Once you graduate from the academy and start taking on missions, you'll have to pay for it on your own. Naruto nodded once more, taking the envelope and key and placed them in his pocket. Now for the jutsu that will unseal that scroll. I'll show you how it's done. Naruto was pleasantly surprised when he unlocked the door to his new home. It wasn't anything special to look at, but it was plenty for a 6-year-old to live in by himself. The apartment was already furnished with bed, a small couch, a coffee and dining table set, a kitchen with a fridge and sink. Down the short hall was a small but simple full-sized bathroom. By normal apartment standards, this one was considered rundown and needed repairs. But Naruto didn't mind. He was used to moving around with Jiraiya for a few months before returning to Mount Myoboku. Even then his room there was small and not very spacious. He thought about the toads that he had grown to know while in between trips with Jiraiya. They were always nice to him, never shunning him away. But they didn't really interact with him much. Naruto was mostly left alone while he stayed with them. The only toads that spent any time with him were the 2 toad elders, Lord Fukasaku and Lady Shima. Was I just a waste of time for them too? Just like for Ero Sennin? Naruto couldn't believe his caretaker, the man that had been watching over him for as long as he could remember, would just leave without so much as an explanation. Or even a goodbye. That's what really hurt Naruto. The fact that Jiraiya left while he was unconscious, and during a time when Naruto needed Jiraiya the most. I guess I can't depend on anyone, only myself. Naruto didn't see the point in sitting around and sulking about what had happened. That wasn't his style. He, instead, thought better to use his time to train. Naruto took out the scroll and placed on the table. He went through a series of hand signs and released the jutsu that was placed on the scroll. The third was impressed by how quickly Naruto took to Fuinjutsu, and Naruto was proud of that. The contents of the scroll appeared in a small cloud of smoke on the coffee table in front of his couch. Each scroll was labeled. There were Katon, fire, Suiton, water, Doton, earth, Futon, wind, and Raiton, lightning, scrolls. All were D-rank level jutsus and were considered basics for each element. The 6th scroll was labeled for chakra control, again just the fundamentals. Naruto wanted to spread out the learning of these jutsus, but he was just too excited to do that. So, Naruto positioned his fingers into a cross-hand sign. Kagebushin no Jutsu. Shadow clone technique. Instantly, 5 identical clones of the young boy popped into existence, each in their own plumes of smoke. Already knowing what to do, the clones each grabbed a scroll and spread themselves around the apartment to study the scroll they had chosen, while the original chose to study the chakra control scroll. Naruto was so happy that Jiraiya taught him this jutsu. The pervert knew it would be perfect for Naruto because of his abnormally massive chakra reserves. He remembered the Sannin saying once that Naruto easily had, at least, 4 times the amount of chakra that the 3rd Hokage did, and he was considered to have the most in the entire village. There was a major difference between the regular clone jutsu and the shadow clone jutsu. The regular Bushin jutsu was more of a mirage to be used as a distraction in battle and to gather information on the enemy during a stealth mission, while the Kage Bushin was a solid copy of the creator that could actually fight in battle and gather information much easier. And when the clone would get dispelled, the memories of what the clone experienced would transfer themselves to the creator. The one downside to the Kage Bushin was that only memories were transferred. So if the clones were used for training, like Naruto was intending to use them for, no physical changes would be done to Naruto once he dispelled the clone. Naruto was going to have to do all the physical training himself. He really didn't mind though. He almost preferred it like that. For the rest of the day, Naruto and his clones studied the scrolls until they fell asleep well into the night. Next day, Naruto rested his head on his right arm as he quietly sighed in disinterest as his academy instructor, Iruka Umino, rambled on about a history lesson of the creation of Konoha. He already knew this tale from Jiraiya. Iruka had already been talking for a few hours now, and Naruto was ready to pass out from boredom. This is going to be a long 6 years. Naruto silently sighed to himself again. There was a 6-year minimum requirement to graduate from the academy, including passing the final graduation exam at the end of the 6 years. Though Naruto didn't think it was all bad. He didn't notice when he first entered the classroom, mostly because the young spiky-haired boy woke up and rushed in, but there was a certain pink-haired girl that caught Naruto's attention when he quickly grew bored of Iruka's history lesson. Naruto thought about his quick interaction with her the other day, which was quickly cut short by her mother, and it dawned on him that couldn't say thank you for the flower, or even goodbye. He hoped Sakura didn't think he was ungrateful for the flower. It was his most prized possession. It sat in a small cup of water on his windowsill so that the flower could get enough sunlight. Naruto knew it wouldn't live long, but he decided to enjoy it as much as he could. Naruto was thrown from his daze when Iruka changed his tone and students began to rise from their seats. It was time for their 1-hour lunch break. Finally! Naruto sighed out loud as he followed his new classmates outside. Once outside, Naruto watched his classmates be greeted by their parents and loved ones who had brought them lunch for their first day. Seeing this caused Naruto to miss that perverted Sannin, but an anger rose as well. The only person to care for him simply left, and there was nothing Naruto could do about it. He noticed a swing hidden by the shade of the tree it was hung on. He sat on the swing and watched the others eat their lunches, envious that he didn't have what they did. Time skip, 6 years. Naruto's eyes fluttered open as the morning sunlight shined through his curtain. He groaned in annoyance because the 12-year-old did not want to wake up, but his body would not allow him the luxury of falling back asleep, thus he began to move. He followed through with his morning routine that led him to the training grounds. That is where his day really began. Naruto would train for a few hours before going to his classes at the academy, that is if the blonde went at all. Otherwise Naruto would spend his whole day training. Ever since Naruto joined the academy, he considered himself a part-time student. Either because he already knew what Iruka would be teaching for that day, thanks to what he learned from Jiraiya before the Sannin suddenly left him, or because of the scrolls Naruto would take from the third Hokage's library of scrolls, or Naruto simply did not bother to go because he felt like he could teach himself better. On average, Naruto went to class 1 or twice a week. And that's only because those days were set aside for sparring. Naruto even questioned himself why he would even participate in those sparring matches. He was easily much stronger than all his classmates in all forms of combat. The only one that could come close to Naruto was Sasuke Uchiha. The Uchiha was considered the frontrunner for the Rookie of the Year award because he was at the top of every list. The black-haired boy had the best scores for shuriken and kunai throws, near-perfect ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu scores. The only category that Sasuke wasn't placed first in was IQ. That title went to Shikamaru Nara, followed up by Sakura Haruno. Sasuke was placed fourth behind Shino Aburame. If Naruto had attended class regularly, then he'd be at the top of every list, minus I.Q because Shikamaru had scored over a 200 on that test. Naruto was smarter than your average kid but nowhere near what Shikamaru was at. But Naruto had to attend class today. It was graduation day. Today's the day, he inwardly sighed as he went through his morning stretches. This is gonna be a total waste of my time, but it is required. Naruto thought back to the other day when the Hokage called him into his office to give him the test requirements because Sarutobi knew Naruto did not attend the class that Iruka taught. Can you even call this an exam? A simple shuriken and kunai throw and a genjutsu on the instructor? How does that gauge a ninja's battle readiness? Or even if they can handle a fight against an enemy shinobi? Naruto, though he didn't want to, took this morning's training session easy. He felt like he should just in case he accidentally hurt himself before the exam. Not like it would really matter, Naruto would just suffer through whatever injury he sustained or it would be quickly healed by the Kyuubi. Despite the village hating Naruto for being the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox, being its host did have a few perks. His chakra levels were far beyond anyone else's in the village, a healing factor that Sandaime compared to that of the Shodai Hokage, Hashirama Senju, and the ability to have heightened senses, like enhanced hearing and sense of smell. And for a being that is made up of entirely chakra and hate, the Kyuubi did have his soft moments towards the young blonde. Yes, the nine-tailed fox could be a royal asshole, and he was most of the time, but the Kyuubi would help Naruto from time to time with his training. If Naruto would swallow his pride and ask for it. Naruto sighed to himself again. It was time to go to the academy for the exam. He left the training grounds and headed down the main street of Konoha, keeping his gaze down so he didn't have to deal with the villagers' hate ones. I wonder who I'll be teamed up with. I don't know anyone all that well, but it would be nice to be paired up with that Shikamaru kid. He might be unbearably lazy, but his decision-making would be unparalleled in a fight. Maybe that Hyuga girl, I think her name is Hinata. She'd be a good teammate with that Byakugan. When Naruto decided to pay attention to what was around him, he was standing in his classroom at the Ninja Academy. He was surprised to see that he was the first there. He even beat Iruka. He simply shrugged and took a seat in that far back corner. He took out one of kunai and began to twirl it with his fingers. His focus on his activity was broken when Iruka, the class instructor, had walked in and sat down at his desk. Nice for you to join us, Naruto. Naruto didn't feel the need to respond to the Chunin instructor's jab at the boy's attendance. He knew what he was capable of, and it was far beyond what Iruka had taught the rest of the class. He went back to focusing on the twirling of his kunai between his fingers until his focus was broken once more when a certain pink-haired girl walked into the room, following the heartthrob of the class, Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto didn't understand why all the girls threw themselves at the Uchiha. It was annoying and honestly stalkerish. The blonde wasn't sure if he should feel bad for the Uchiha or envy him for the attention. Naruto seemed to have been focusing on Sakura longer than he thought he was because he didn't notice Sasuke was now standing in front of him. Can I help you, Sasuke? Why are you here, Uzumaki? You haven't been to class in almost a month, not to mention the countless days you missed beforehand. Naruto held a blank stare. Graduating is solely based on the results of the final exam. Read the handbook. Why do you even care, miss me beating you in our sparring matches? Sasuke's smirk quickly disappeared and was replaced with a scowl. You wanna go again, Uzumaki? It's been a while since our last match, and I've gotten stronger since then. All the Sasuke Fangirl Club, as Naruto called them, cheered in response to Sasuke's challenge. Naruto rolled his eyes as he continued to focus on his kunai. Don't flatter yourself, Sasuke. Awaken your Sharingan, and we'll see how you stand against me. The spiky-haired blonde expected Sasuke to lash out against him for even mentioning the Sharingan like that. He knew it was probably a testy subject because of what his older brother, Itachi, did. Sasuke and Itachi were the sole surviving members of the Uchiha clan because Itachi had gone insane and killed them all, leaving only Sasuke alive on a whim. Naruto had his own thoughts about the Uchiha massacre but thought best to not dwell on those later. Sasuke huffed and held a cocky smirk. You are absolutely right, Naruto. When I do awaken my Sharingan, I'll be more than strong enough to take you on. Naruto caught his own kunai and finally looked at Sasuke. He could see the confidence behind them. It made the blonde smirk himself. He had always wanted to see how well he'd fare against the Sharingan. Sasuke, sit down. Iruka called out. The rest of class had been waiting for the two to finish before they could start, and it seemed Iruka was tired of waiting. We're about to begin the final exam for graduation. As some of you may have noticed, our part-time student, Naruto Uzumaki, will be joining us. How is that fair? He never comes to class. Naruto glanced over and noticed a bright blonde-haired girl. He had trouble placing the name for a moment before it clicked. Ino Yamanaka. He had no special feelings for this girl and only remembered her name because she was close to Sakura, even though they seemed to utterly hate each other, and was part of that Sasuke Fangirl Club. Naruto thought best to not say anything and let Iruka respond for him. Well, Ino, when Naruto isn't in class he trains by himself with Lord Hokage's supervision. So, it would be unfair to not allow him to take the exam. Another student decided to make his grievances known. What do you mean with Lord Hokage's supervision? You're saying Naruto's been trained by the Sandaime? Naruto decided to answer this one before Iruka could divulge his training secrets. What I do outside of class is none of your concern. Now, if you'll all shut up, I'd like to get this pointless exam over with. Then why don't you go first, Naruto? Iruka questioned. Since you seem to think this exam will be easy. Naruto had no problem with that. The quicker he passed this exam, the better. He simply stood from his spot and followed the Chunin instructor into the back room. Next day. Naruto was back in the same spot he was in the day prior. The only difference was that Naruto had a Konoha headband tied around his head. As the blonde expected, the graduation exam was beyond easy. A kunai throw that only needed 2 out of 3 in the bullseye to pass, a D-rank genjutsu that had to be placed over the other instructor, and to create a simple bushin. Not even a Kage bushin for that matter. How that proved that someone was capable of being a ninja was beyond Naruto's understanding. Naruto seemed to be too lost in thought to notice that the class had been filled. Maybe he needed to stop zoning out so much. Team 7 will consist of Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Naruto Uzumaki. There was a quick lash out of anger. How am I stuck on a team with that loser? Sasuke yelled out. We're freaking super team. That's not fair to everyone else. Ino yelled out in like fashion. Iruka was surprised. He was expecting Naruto to be the one to express his anger and disinterest for his team selection, but he stayed quiet. It seemed Naruto was content with the team he was placed with, or simply didn't care. Ino, Sasuke, take your seats please. Thank you. To answer your questions, the teams had to be balanced, and the only fair way to do that is by test scores. Sasuke, you are at the top of the class. Sakura is around the middle. And Naruto is considered the dead last, despite having the only perfect on the graduation exam. Sakura raised her hand before speaking. If Naruto had the only perfect on the exam, how is he considered last in the class? All of you have your homework and test scores from your time in the academy. Since Naruto never came to class, he doesn't have the scores like the rest of you do to support him. Both seemed satisfied with that answer, but that didn't mean they liked it. Sasuke was still very mixed on how he felt about being paired up with Naruto. I hate this. How could I be put the same team as that loser? But then again, I could use him to train. I wish I were lying, but he is leagues ahead of me. Since he's on my team, I'll be able to surpass him and kick his ass in spars all damn day. A small smirk spread across Sasuke's face as he thought about this. Sakura had no idea what to make of her team. She was absolutely thrilled about having her heartthrob Sasuke on the same team as her. It was the other new teammate that puzzled her. She had seen him around the village by himself, and every time she would always hear the same word being murmured. Demon. Sakura was never sure why, but her parents would always tell her to stay away from that boy every time they would come across him. She never understood why. He didn't bother anyone or cause any trouble. But she didn't want to upset her parents, so Sakura never questioned what her parents told her what to do. Naruto really didn't care one way or another about who his team members were. Sure, he wasn't completely thrilled about being put on the same team as Sasuke. He, honestly, should have expected it because he already knew he was at the bottom of the class, test-wise that is, and the teams needed to be evened out so that everyone has a fair chance. But Sakura was placed on the same team, so Naruto thought it wasn't the worst team choice for him. It would be easier that way. We need to watch out for that team. We can't get on their bad side. Yeah, I know. That blonde kid is nothing to mess with, and neither is Sasuke. Naruto couldn't help but smirk when he overheard the private conversation between the two students in front of him. It was nice to hear praise for once. Each of the members of Team 7 were so caught up in their own thoughts about their team selection for such a long time that by the time they came out of their own thoughts, everyone else had left with their Jonin sensei. Sakura was the first to notice they were the only team left to be picked up by their sensei. Where is our sensei? Shouldn't he be here by now? She questioned out loud. Neither of her teammates showed no indication of responding. Sakura sighed. I hope Kakashi-sensei isn't always this late. Naruto's attention snapped to full when the pinkette spoke. That name sparked the memory of the day that Jiraiya had left him. The day that everything changed. This Kakashi was the A&B that escorted him from the hospital to the Hokage's office. While he didn't pay any mind to it at the time, the man had a sense of familiarity to Naruto. Why, or even how, the blonde hadn't the slightest clue. Suddenly the sliding door opened and stepped in as a bored-looking man wearing the typical shinobi pants, with the blue long-sleeved shinobi shirt and green vest. The man had his headband placed over his left eye and his spiky gray hair seemed to defy gravity. The most interesting part about the man was that a mask covered half his face. The man didn't look at his students because he was too involved with the book he was reading. Ika Paradise. Naruto groaned when he saw that book. You must Team 7? Be on the roof in 5 minutes. With that, the man left. Kakashi glanced up from his book and was pleased to see that his new students were standing around him. Take a seat and we will begin. Sakura and Sasuke did just that and sat on the small set of stairs, across from their sensei who was leaning against a railing, while Naruto decided to remain standing just off to the right of Sakura's right shoulder. Kakashi took note of this, realizing that Naruto was standing there for protection and not luxury. Sakura didn't seem to notice, or it simply didn't bother her. The silver-haired Jonin took in what his students were wearing, seeing if they would be easily noticed in concealment. The girl was wearing a red shipao dress, with dark green bike shorts underneath, blue shinobi sandals. Practical for movement and decent in cover, her hair was more of a problem. The Uchiha wore a navy blue short-sleeved high-collared shirt with white shorts and white arm warmers and blue shinobi sandals. A better choice, blends in easy. The only one standing, the blonde, was wearing an unzipped orange and blue jacket, with a white collar, with a mesh undershirt armor, a pair of black pants and sandals. All three had kunai holsters on their preferred side with white bandages wrapped as well. The black was a perfect choice, but the orange jacket stuck out as much as the blonde hair. Okay, we are going to start off by introducing ourselves. Sakura raised her hand. Kakashi motioned his head to let the girl know to ask her question. What kind of stuff do you want to know, sensei? Just your likes, dislikes, hobbies, your dreams, stuff of that nature. And you don't have to raise your hand to talk, this isn't the classroom anymore. Why don't you start? Sakura nodded and thought for a moment before speaking. My name is Sakura Haruno. I have someone I like. She continuously glanced over to Sasuke as her cheeks flushed the same color as her red shipao dress. My dream is to. She glanced at Sasuke once more before she squealed in delight at her own thoughts. Kakashi inwardly groaned as he rubbed the back of his neck. Girls these days are more interested in love than anything else. What do you hate? Sakura hummed for a second before she answered. I don't hate anything, to be honest. Kakashi nodded and looked to the black-haired Uchiha next to her. You go. Sasuke didn't hesitate as interlocked his fingers in front of his face and rested his elbows on his knees. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. There are a lot of things I hate, and not too many things I like or enjoy. The word dream means nothing to me, I have but two ambitions: the revival of my clan and to kill a certain man. Kakashi was not shocked by this response. He fully expected this type of answer from someone who witnessed the murder of his entire clan by his older brother. His one visible eye finally fell onto Naruto. Your last, Blondie? My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I guess you could say the one thing I like is ramen. My hobby is training every day. My dislikes. His mind flashed a memory of Jiraiya. Betrayal. My goal is to be the strongest and prove this village they were wrong. Kakashi was not surprised by this response either. He knew of the problems that Naruto had faced when Lord Jiraiya decided to leave Naruto in the village unexpectedly. It may have been for a mission, but that didn't mean Kakashi agreed with the Sanin's decision to leave without an explanation. There was a lot of work to be done before this team would be able to function properly. Okay, if that's everything then. Hold on, Naruto suddenly spoke up. We don't know anything about you. Well, my name is Kakashi Hatake. I have no intention of telling you my likes or dislikes. As for my dream, I have a few hobbies. His voice trailed off as he began to read his book once more. While the two seated genin held deadpan expressions, Naruto wasn't willing to let the man off that easy. Well, we know you like to read porn in public. Kakashi stopped reading and glanced up at the boy, ignoring Sakura's eye twitching and Sasuke's raised eyebrow. You know, Naruto, I'm not the only one here that's being a little misleading. Naruto arched his brow. What are you talking about? Oh, just a tale I heard from a perverted old man whose favorite number was 9. Naruto's shock was visible, while both Sakura and Sasuke stayed confused at their sensei's statement. Kakashi worried that he may have hit a nerve by hinting at the Kyuubi, but he also wanted to confirm if Naruto knew about the beast within him or not. His worries were relived when he heard a small scoff from Naruto, who held a small smirk. Fair play, Kakashi-sensei. You won. Me 0. Naruto's response only raised further questions about him. Kakashi wished he could ask them but knew this was not the time, nor in the right company, to do so. The boy would have to come to him on his own about his own concerns about the best before Kakashi could ask his. To continue what I was saying earlier, if that's everything, then we'll head over to the training grounds. Sasuke stared at the Jonin confusingly as he stood up. Training grounds? We're starting training already? Kakashi shook his head. No, not really, this is a survival test. If you pass, then you become my students, therefore genin. But if you fail, then it's back to the academy for another year. All three were shocked, but Sakura was the loudest about it. We go back if we fail? We passed the graduation exam. Kakashi simply chuckled as he placed his book away in his back pouch. That was the knowledge portion of the exam. It's important but not the most vital. What do you mean? Sasuke questioned. Think about it like this. If you've only read a book on how to disarm a timed explosive tag, would it be smart to throw yourself into a life or death situation where time is your greatest enemy, and a single mistake will cost your life? No. It's better to practice the techniques and go through scenarios so that you have some type of experience when you must deal with the situation. Knowing how to do something than actually having to do it are completely different. I, as your sensei, have to make sure you can handle yourselves in dangerous situations. The three students nodded at Kakashi's explanation for behind the test as they entered the training grounds. Kakashi stood in front of his possible students and pulled out 2 small bells from his pocket. The goal of this test is quite simple. All you have to do is take these bells from me before sundown. If you don't, then you fail. Simple, right? Naruto slammed fist as he let his excitement show. Finally! I was starting to wonder if that boring exam was it. Sakura stepped forward. Why are there 2 bells if there's 3 of us? Kakashi smiled innocently. That's because one of you will fail, only 2 of you can pass. Naruto's excitement was replaced with confusion as he stared at the gray-haired man. Well, that doesn't make any sense. How can only 2 of us pass when a standard team consists of 1 sensei and 3 genin? There has to be a point to this then, it can't be as simple as he says. We just turn on each other and fight him by yourselves to get the bells. It would be easier to work Toget. Naruto's eyes shot wide open as the realization hit him. That's it. He wants us to turn against each other. The actual point to this test is teamwork, and come together as a unit. We might actually pull off a victory if we do this right. Kakashi saw the change in expression on Naruto. What's that smirk for? Sasuke and Sakura snapped out of their own thoughts and both glanced at Naruto. Nothing really, just figuring out the secret to your test and how all 3 of us are going to pass. The blonde's teammates' eyes went wide as they stared at him in shock. Kakashi chuckled in slight amusement. Is that so? Then what is the secret to my test? Naruto's smirk never left his features as he crossed his arms. You'll see. Kakashi tied the 2 bells to one of his belt loops as he jumped back, towards the middle of the training grounds. He took out his perverted orange book and began to read it. Begin. The young blonde stayed put in the clearing while his 2 teammates jumped away into the trees that surrounded the training grounds. He knew that if he wanted to pass this test, then he'd have to team up with Sakura and Sasuke. He didn't have a major issue with teaming up with them, but he felt like he needed to try and fight his sensei one-on-one. He thought it would be fair since he was missing out on training for the day. Despite Sasuke's protests, Sakura followed him into his hiding spot. Why she couldn't just leave him alone and try to think for herself was beyond him. But now was not the time to think about that. Sasuke was more interested on thinking how he was going to use this test to show up Naruto. He would get those bells without Naruto and Sakura's help and prove that he is the strongest in the team. Sakura's mind was working on overdrive as she tried to figure out a way to have her and Sasuke pass the test. She knew she had no chance of getting the bells by herself. That's why she decided to follow Sasuke and help him come up with a plan. It's not that she didn't want Naruto to pass, she just preferred it be her and Sasuke who pass. But Naruto did say he knew how all 3 of them could pass. Sasuke, let's go find Naruto. He said he had a plan for all of us to pass. Sasuke's eye twitched. We don't need that dope. If he can think of a plan, then there's no way I can't. Sakura nodded in agreement with her crush, small smile adoring her features. I know you think of something, Sasuke. Their attention was suddenly drawn back to the clearing where they saw Naruto still standing where they had left him. Kakashi seemed to have noticed but showed no indication that he has. Both Sakura and Sasuke were shocked to see him still there. What in the world is he doing? The girl asked. No idea. Kakashi knew that Naruto hadn't left the area and was watching him intently. There was no sign in Naruto's body language that he was about to attack or even move towards him. Kakashi raised his visible eyebrow what the boy's intentions could be because Naruto was by far the strongest member of the team and could take the bells by himself, if Kakashi made the mistake of underestimating the boy. Naruto was disturbingly strong for his age. From the personal files that the Sandaime gave Kakashi to study from to watching the blonde train, Kakashi was very impressed by the boy's resume. The file from the 3rd stated that Naruto knew basic jutsu for every chakra nature, was proficient in using the Kagebushin no jutsu, and apparently, had an uncommon ability to use Fuinjutsu quite easily. And Kakashi was confident in the fact that wasn't all Naruto knew. He did spend the first 6 years of his life traveling with Jiraiya, whether he liked to admit it or not. So, Naruto, care to explain how being here and not with your teammates will pass you all? Naruto's smirk never faded. This has nothing to do with passing. It's just I normally train for most of the day and this little test is cutting into that. I thought seeing how I do against a Jonin would be a good trade-off. Especially since it'll be against a copycat ninja. So, you've heard of my nickname. You're full of surprises, Naruto. Kakashi let a small chuckle escape as he placed his book back in his pouch. I don't mind a quick sparring match. You must be serious about this since you're putting that smut away. Kakashi sighed. I wouldn't be where I am because I underestimated my opponents. I'm not going to make that mistake with you. And I figured you'd have more appreciation for masterpieces. Naruto groaned and rolled his eyes. They are just his late-night fantasies, nothing masterful about it. Kakashi shook his head. The younger generation will never appreciate a good book. Naruto was done talking and charged at Kakashi, vanishing from man's sight. The Jonin blocked the kick from his right as he already prepared to block the punch to his stomach. He's faster than I expected. Those must be chakra weights on his ankles. But to move at this speed with them on, how fast can he be without them? Kakashi watched intently as he continued to block repeated kicks and punches from the blonde Jinchuriki. Naruto's taijutsu was better than what Kakashi thought as well. What else was this young boy capable of? Kakashi wasn't the only one impressed with Naruto, both Sakura and Sasuke were as well. Sasuke knew firsthand how good Naruto was in battle, he was his main sparring opponent in the academy after all, but to watch him fight was something else entirely. Naruto's movements were swift and precise, there was no wasted energy. It was painfully obvious that Naruto was very disciplined in his training. Sakura was in the same boat as Sasuke. She had watched Naruto go up against Sasuke time after time, but never really paid much attention to Naruto's movements in battle. His brawler-type style was uncommon, but seemed to be highly effective. His strong kicks and punches would leave bruises easily and his quick reaction time was, by far, ahead of anyone in their age group. Sakura hoped that Naruto's strength would rub off on her so she could impress the likes of Sasuke. Naruto flipped into the air, using Kakashi's latest block as his springboard, and went through a series of hand signs. Futon, Sunabakori. Wind style, dust storm. Naruto exhaled a massive dust cloud from his mouth and it covered the entire field, including the surrounding trees. Kakashi's vision was completely blocked by the thick dust. He couldn't see a mere 2 inches in front of him. He resorted to using his sense of smell and hearing to protect his bells. Both Sakura and Sasuke covered their eyes so the dust wouldn't get in them and cause future problems. Suddenly, they were grabbed from behind and pulled out from their hiding spots and brought out of the cloud of dust. Once their eyes readjusted, they were surprised to see 2 Narutos. "What the hell, Naruto?" Sakura immediately shouted. "You could have just told us to follow you and not grab us like that. You wouldn't have been able to follow me in that thick of dust. Even Kakashi-sensei is having a hard time with it," one of the Narutos said. Sasuke stood up and dusted himself off, raising an eyebrow at the blonde's actions. Sakura did the same and voiced her questions. "What are we doing out here, Naruto? And what's your plan?" The other Naruto moved his neck and a loud pop followed. "Sasuke, I need to head back and help the real me fight off Kakashi-sensei. Once that dust cloud disappears, I don't think he'll very happy." "And why is that? You seem doing just fine against him," Sasuke questioned. The clone reached into his pocket and pulled out the orange book that the Jonin was reading from earlier. "He probably won't like me having his favorite book. Besides, the whole point to this test to work as a team." At this, both Sasuke and Sakura eyes shot open as everything made sense. "While you and boss are dealing with sensei, Sakura will be the one to take the bells." "How am I going to do that?" the Pinkette questioned. The clone held up the book. With this, he handed it to Sakura. "You are going to threaten to destroy the book and demand he hand over the bells to save it." "That seems a bit harsh," Sakura responded. The clone shrugged. "It's what he gets for reading that smut in the first place." Sasuke caught something in the clone's tone. "You seem a bit hostile towards a book. What, don't like to read?" The clone ignored the insult as he looked towards the clearing. He could see the cloud of dust starting to disappear. "It's not the book. Go, the dust is being carried away by the wind." The 2 clones burst into clouds of white smoke while the 2 rushed to the clearing. The real Naruto, who was hiding in the dissipating cloud of dust, felt a small headache suddenly wash over him. The memories of what the clones did with Sakura and Sasuke filled his brain and Naruto smirked once more. Kakashi was finally starting to see and, soon enough, all the dust in the air had completely been blown away by the wind. He was surprised to see that Naruto was no longer alone. Standing next to him was Sasuke. They were both in a battle stance. Kakashi had little time to react to Naruto and Sasuke's joint attack. They both went at him with opposing attacks. Sasuke would send a kick and Naruto would send a punch. And vice versa. Kakashi was impressed once more. He was pleased to see that they could put aside their differences for a common goal. Now if they could incorporate the female member of their team then. "Sakura. Where is she?" A sudden wave of worry came over the famed copycat shinobi as he tried to sense the young girl's chakra, but he couldn't find her. He noted that Sakura would be a natural at chakra control because she was hiding her chakra signature very well. Naruto and Sasuke's dual attack was quickly countered when Kakashi used Sasuke's momentum to throw him into Naruto, giving Kakashi the breather he needed to search for Sakura. He didn't have to look very far because she was standing out in the open. She seemed to be hiding something behind her back. "Say, Kakashi-sensei, how about a trade?" Kakashi raised his eyebrow. "A trade?" Sakura removed her hands from behind her back and held Kakashi's book with both hands, near her chest. "You hand over the bells and I won't destroy your book." The innocence in Sakura's voice told Kakashi that the Pinkette wasn't kidding. True panic and fear fell upon the Jonin. Okay. He took the bells off his belt loop and held them out. Deal. Sakura smiled triumphantly as she skipped over to her sensei, and took the bells in her hands and handed over the orange book. All 3 students noticed that their teacher breathed a heavy sigh of relief when that book was in his hands, like some type of security blanket. "I must say, I'm impressed you 3, Kakashi said when he made his way over to his students. "Whose plan was it to use my precious book against me?" "Naruto's." Sakura couldn't stop smiling as she answered. Kakashi should have figured that one. His gaze moved to the blonde as he held on to the 2 bells in his hand. "Dislike my taste in literature that much you'd threaten it just to pass the test?" Naruto shrugged, placing the bell in his pocket. Kakashi won, me won. Kakashi chuckled slightly. Well played, Naruto. You three did very well. Not only did you figure out the true purpose for this test by yourselves, you figured out a weakness of mine and exploited it. You three did well. Congratulations, you pass. Sakura's wide grin somehow became even wider as both Naruto and Sasuke smirked in triumph. They were now official shinobi of Konohagakure no Sato. And unknown to them, the first to pass the bell test. Good job, you guys, we are now officially Team 7. Our first mission is tomorrow. Meet here at 7 tomorrow morning. 2 months later. Naruto and the rest of Team 7 couldn't believe this was the third time this week that the same damn cat had run away from its owner. It was also the 8th time this month as well. Naruto knew he wasn't the only one considered skinning the cat alive as a way of showing Madame Sure Jimmy, the fire daimyo's wife, that you can't bear hug an animal into loving you. Team 7 watched the fire daimyo's wife pay for her third mission this week, then leave the room behind them, leaving only the team and the Hokage in the room. Good work, Team 7, the Hokage said. Your 7th D-rank mission this week and 20th one this month. Your team is quite impressive, Kakashi. Kakashi bowed slightly. Thank you, Lord Hokage. Sarutobi was going through some papers on his desk, seemingly searching for something. Kakashi knew that the Hokage was looking for another D-rank mission to give his team. He didn't mind that, but the gray-haired Jonin felt that his team was ready to take the next step. Lord Third, I believe my team is ready for the next level. Sarutobi stopped rummaging through his papers and smiled at one of most trusted shinobi. He picked up another piece of paper he had set aside earlier. You think they're ready? Kakashi didn't say anything but nodded. That carried all the words he wanted to say. At your request, I do have C-rank escort mission to the Land of Waves. Kakashi looked over his shoulder to his team. Any objections? Sakura was nodding excitingly, Sasuke was smirking, and Naruto slammed his fist into his hand and held a toothy grin. Sarutobi liked to see Naruto expressing himself like he was. It was a nice change of pace for the elderly man. We'll take it, Lord Hokage. Sarutobi nodded in recognition for the up-and-coming team of genin and looked towards the door of his office. Hey, you can come in now, he called out. The team's attention was shifted to the door as it was opened by an elderly man, holding a nearly empty bottle of sake, who stumbled into the room. The man glanced over the young teens and their teacher before looking at the Hokage in mild disinterest. What the hell, Mr. Hokage? These are kids, not ninja. How am I supposed to be safe with damn kids protecting me? The short one with the angry-looking face looks too stupid to be a ninja. Naruto glared daggers at the older man. It was no secret that he was talking about him. Sasuke was smirking and Sakura couldn't help but giggle at the insult. Sarutobi, however, wasn't going to let this client insult his shinobi. If you don't like the team selection I have for you, you can take your business elsewhere, Tazuna. I wouldn't have given them this mission if my confidence was lacking in them. It is my firm belief that you will be safe in their hands. Tazuna stopped his stumbling around and thought about the Hokage's words. If the man that ran the village had such confidence in a bunch of kids, what did he have to say against that? The man let out a laugh. Okay, I was too quick to judge you all. I'm sorry for that. I'm the super bridge builder expert, Tazuna. I would be honored if you take on my request. After receiving the actual briefing for the mission, Team 7 and Tazuna decided to head out of the village the following morning to give them some rest before the mission. And to pack and spend time with family. Well, that was mostly for Sakura because her 2 male teammates didn't have any family to go home to. With Naruto. Naruto had been lacking on his training as of late because multiple D-rank missions could be done in a single day. Most days, Team 7 would complete 3 to 4 missions a day. That really had been cutting into Naruto's training time. He needed to let loose some pent-up frustrations of the past few months. The young blonde dispatched a squad of 10 clones to attack him, working on his taijutsu and physical prowess, while another set of clones studied scrolls and practiced the jutsus he already knew. This was the blonde's release for anger, frustration, or anything else really. Training was the boy knew. His daily routine revolved around it. Naruto dispelled the final clone with a hard kick to its head. He breathed in and out heavily. He ran his hand through his sweaty hair to move it out of his vision. Blood was mixed in with his sally sweat. I told those clones to come at me with the intent to kill. I didn't even notice this. It wasn't a large amount of blood but a decent amount to cause some mild concern. I can't let something like this happen again. I have to get stronger. The image of his long-gone caretaker suddenly came into his mind and a surge of energy surged through his body. Kagebushin no Jutsu. Instantly, 13 more clones came into existence in plumes of smoke. Naruto eyed them all as he cracked his knuckles by simply making a pair of fists. Again! He cried out as he charged head-on into the crowd. With Sasuke. The black-haired Uchiha boy was deep in the woods that laid inside village walls. There was battle-worn target with 7 kunai and 13 shurikens sticking out of it, all thrown with deadly precision. Sasuke had taken a break from his physical training, which consisted of hitting a tree until he went numb from the pain. Looking at the target always brought up memories of the days where he trained with his older brother, Itachi. Back then, his only concern was making sure he actually hit the target instead of trying to aim for the bullseye. Then, Sasuke just wanted Itachi to be proud of his skills so that their father would be impressed too. Now, Itachi was the sole reason for Sasuke to keep going. The young Avenger would not stop or rest until Itachi Uchiha lay dead at his feet. With Sakura. Sakura had been growing more nervous throughout the rest of the day and into the night. After she was finally able to stop and think about the possible outcomes of leaving the safety of the village for the first time, both excited and terrified the young Kunoichi. She was excited to what the world was like outside Konoha, but Sakura was not stupid nor naive. She knew there were bandits that preyed on the weak and missing shinobi that hated the great nations and were far stronger than her. Some of those worries were laid to rest because of her teammates and Jonin-sensei. Sakura knew Kakashi would be there and would protect them if things became out of hand and the genin couldn't handle them. She even believed Sasuke could do the same if Kakashi was readily available to help. But then there was her other male teammate, Naruto. She hadn't really given it much thought since becoming a team, but there were some things about him that made the Pinkette question. One thing about Naruto that Sakura was confused about was that there was a sense of familiarity, like she had met him before. When she actually thought about it, Sakura had never seen Naruto before the academy. It was like he just popped into existence out of thin air. Another thing Sakura noticed about her blonde teammate was that whenever she'd see him around the village, during their academy days and even today, there was a distinct feeling in the air that emitted from the villagers. She wasn't sure what that feeling was. The best word she could think of to describe it was fear. But she never dwelled on this for a long period of time. Her mom and dad would always tell her to leave that boy alone. Sakura shrugged to herself and covered herself with her sheets as she shifted to get comfortable. A few minutes passed before the young girl was asleep. Naruto was the first to arrive to the main gate of village. He found a spot just outside the large green doors under a tree to wait for his team. His body was still uncomfortably sore from yesterday's training, but his usual fast healing had finally kicked in and most of his cuts and bruises were gone. After going around few rounds against his clones that were trying to kill him, Naruto collapsed and didn't wake back up until this morning. Next to arrive was Sasuke. The two shared a nod to show they were both ready for this mission. The young blonde noted that Sasuke seemed to be just as sore as he was, maybe if not more. You trained yesterday too, huh? Sasuke nodded. I pushed myself to my limit. I needed to see I was ready for this. Naruto nodded as well. That calmed a few worries that he was having about this mission. He wasn't worried for the mission itself, but how his teammates would fare out in the real world. He knew all too well that the world they knew inside Konoha was vastly different from the one outside these walls. Not surprising, Sakura wasn't too far behind Sasuke. She didn't seem sore in the slightest, and both of Naruto and Sasuke noticed. This was something Naruto would have to speak to her about at some point soon. The blonde did notice that Sakura seemed to be looking at him a bit more, like she was trying to remember something. He didn't pay much attention to it after noticing. After about an hour of waiting, Kakashi finally arrived with Tazuna in tow. Alright, let's head out. A few hours later. Kakashi had been watching his team intently since leaving Konoha. Everything was going as the Jonin thought it would. This was going to be a simple C-rank escort mission. There shouldn't be too much trouble that his genin team would get overwhelmed. Sakura was instantly amazed by nearly everything she saw. The gray-haired sensei was aware that this was the first time the girl had left the village and expected this type of reaction. Sasuke appeared he didn't care about the surrounds and more focused on staying alert, but Kakashi would catch Sasuke's sightseeing very now and again. Naruto's reaction to being outside the village both confused and pleased Kakashi. Naruto had spent the first 6 years of his life mostly on the move with Jiraiya before he was suddenly left in Konoha, so Naruto seemed more relaxed than Kakashi had ever seen him. But Kakashi knew Naruto was completely aware of his surroundings and would react accordingly, despite not ever seeing the blonde's head turn to look at something. Kakashi's battle-tested eyes saw a small puddle in the middle of the road. The Jonin glanced at the sky and didn't see a single cloud, and he knew that there hasn't been any rain in the past few days. A water transformation. Not very clever for this time of year. Naruto noticed the puddle as well and signaled Kakashi with a slight whistle. His sensei glanced back, and the blonde softly shook his head. Kakashi understood the gesture and kept walking past the puddle. The three others seemed to be none the wiser. Two men slowly rose from the puddle a few feet behind them. Both looked similar, with the only real difference being that one had two fake horns while the other had only one on the center of his headband. They took off in a dead sprint and shot spiked chains out of their large metal gauntlets and ensnared Kakashi, seemingly tearing him to pieces. "One down!" one of them called out. "Kakashi-sensei!" Sakura screamed as she stumbled back in fear, watching the two men shift their attention to Tazuna, who she happened to be next to. Before the two men could make a move towards the client and Pinkette, Naruto came down from above and landed a kick onto each of their heads. Sasuke reacted perfectly and hit a well-placed kick to the two-horned man. Naruto went through a flurry of hand signs and slammed his hands on the ground. Doton, Ganchuro no Jutsu. Large rock pillars shot up from the ground and trapped the two men. Naruto sighed as he stood from his kneeling position. He looked beyond the pillars and saw Sakura still shaking with fear. "You okay, Sakura?" Sakura took a moment to snap out of her trance before giving a nod towards her blonde teammate. The Pinkette quickly turned to their black-haired teammate and ran to his side. "Are you okay, Sasuke? You did awesome." Naruto ignored Sakura's fangirling and proceeded to move closer to his prisoners. The two Rouge ninja continuously tried to escape but to no avail. They were trapped until Naruto would undo the jutsu. Naruto felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Kakashi. "Not bad, Naruto. Smart move in capturing them. I was wondering when you'd come out of your hiding spot," Naruto quipped. Kakashi gave an eye smile. "I'm glad to see you can handle yourself, Naruto. You as well, Sasuke." Kakashi expected Sakura to not do as well as her male counterparts, something he'd have to work on with her. He turned his attention to the trapped Rouge shinobi. The demon brothers, Gozu and Meizu. The two brothers, despite being trapped and mostly immobile, flinched. Then Jonin spoke their names. "Do you know these guys, Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura questioned. The Jonin shook his head. "Not personally, no. They are listed in the bingo book as mid-C rank missing ninja. Their file description states that if you ever run into them that they were most likely hired to kill you." Kakashi's one visible eye glared at Tazuna. "Or someone you happen to be protecting." Tazuna didn't hold out for long before letting out a sigh. "It seems I've found out." Sakura looked at the elderly man, then at her sensei. "What is Tazuna talking about, Kakashi-sensei?" "Think it through, Sakura. After dealing with me, who did the ninja target next?" Sakura thought about it for a moment before responding. "They went after Tazuna before Naruto intervened." Kakashi responded with a simple nod. He turned his attention back to the trapped missing nin. "Who hired you to take out Tazuna and why?" There was no response. Kakashi sighed and turned to Naruto. The blonde needed no further instruction. He held the Doton hand sign and the large pillars began to move closer to each other, slowly crushing the Rouge shinobi. "Damn it! Stop already! We'll talk!" Meizu cried out. Unknown location. A short, fat man with brown spiky hair continuously readjusted his suit as he paced nervously. "I thought you said those two would be enough for the mission. Where the hell are they? I hired you to kill the bridge builder, not send someone else to earn your pay." "Shut up before I kill you," a voice annoyingly retorted. A tall and noticeably muscular man wearing blue pinstriped pants, black and white camouflage arm and shin guards, and skin-tight black shirt. His grayish skin was followed by short black spiky hair. The man's face was completely covered by bandages from the arch of his nose down. His headband, from Kirigakure, slanted across his head, and held a monstrous sword with the blade resting on the floor. With very little effort, the man picked up the sword with a single hand and pointed it at the short man. "Stop your bitching, Gato. I'll go myself this time and kill them all." "Are you sure?" Gato asked questioned. "It seems the enemy is rather skilled if they took down the demon brothers. And they'll be on high alert now." "Who do you think I am? There's a reason I've been called the Demon of the Mist, Zabuzu and Momochi. Consider them dead." With Team 7. Kakashi let out a sigh after the demon brothers finished giving him everything he wanted to know. This mission just went from a low C rank to a high A rank since we'll be dealing with Zabuzu and Momochi. Tazuna lowered his head. "I apologize for lying to you all. The truth is my country doesn't have the funds to pay for anything higher than your village's rate for a C rank mission. Gato's makeshift dictatorship destroyed our trading with other villages. He's also heavily involved with drugs and other illegal items. Our main problem is that he hires ninja to keep his company going. There isn't much the Land of Waves can do against him." Sakura looked at Tazuna confusingly. Why can't the Land of Waves just send some high-ranking ninja to take him out? Not all countries have ninja, Sakura. Some have samurai, but some have no type of military at all. Meaning they have to outsource their military to other villages. We can't even do that. Gato completely controls all exports. That's our land's only source of income. The bridge I'm building is the only way we can reconnect with the rest of the world and prosper once more. Sasuke glanced at the elderly man. So that's why Gato hired them to kill you. If that bridge gets finished, then it'll ruin his hold over your town. Tazuna kept his gaze to the ground. Yes. And I'm the only one who knows how to create a bridge like the one we need. If I die, then it'll never be completed. Kakashi gave a small eye smile as he looked over his team. It's up to you guys if we continue this mission or head back to the village and inform Lord Hokage. What do you guys think? Before anyone could voice their concerns, Naruto spoke up. There's no need for discussion, we're going to continue the mission. We are more than capable than holding our own against anyone we face. I don't even see why you would ask the question, Sensei. Kakashi did agree with his blonde student, but he wanted to get a unanimous agreement because they had to feel ready. The only concern for the gray-haired was that Sakura wasn't physically strong enough to handle fighting someone of Zabuza's caliber. Her mental strength was second to none when compared to that of Naruto and Sasuke. Does everyone agree? The other two genin nodded, Sakura more furiously than Sasuke. We'll go through with the mission, Tazuna. Tazuna breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you so much. I'll make sure I find some way to repay you for the trouble I've caused. Team 7 was about to begin their traveling once more before Sakura spoke up. What about them? We can't leave them in there, can we? She pointed over to the two captured Rouge shinobi that were still trapped in Naruto's jutsu. Kakashi rubbed the bottom of his chin. I suppose you're right. He glanced over to Naruto. What do you think, Naruto? You were the one who captured them after all. Naruto thought for a moment before reaching into his back pouch to pull out a small book. He flipped through the pages until he came to the one he was searching for. These guys have a sizable bounty on their heads for being mid-level C-rank missing shinobi. I think there is a collection office not too far from here. We could turn them in and let the people who want them deal with them. Plus, pocket the reward as compensation for unknowingly getting Delta A-rank mission. Kakashi nodded. Normally, I would be all for that, but we are on a bit of a tight schedule. I'm afraid we don't have the time for a detour. I can send my shadow clones while we push forward, they'll catch up once they've finished. Kakashi thought over Naruto's plan. He saw no issue with it, and nodded his head in agreement. Naruto nodded as well and created 4 shadow clones. You know what to do. The 4 clones nodded and made their way over to the bound missing ninja. With the demon brothers being escorted by the team of clones, Tazuna, with Team 7 as his escort, continued their journey towards the Land of Waves. A few hours passed, and the team came to a lake with a docked boat. Tazuna informed that this boat was for them to enter the Land of Waves. It didn't take very long for Team of Genin to realize the sudden decline in visibility as they departed from the wooden dock. I can't see a damn thing, Sakura complained. She could barely see her teammates in the boat next to her, let alone what was in front of her. That's the hidden mist for you, Tazuna chuckled. Everything is hidden in a thick mist. Is it always like this? Sasuke questioned. More or less. The bridge builder shrugged. Honestly, I've never seen the fog get this bad before, but I'm not surprised that it is. Kakashi slightly lifted his head from his book, who somehow could read it despite the thick mist, and thought about the elder man's words. If he's lived here all his life and never seen the mist this dense, I'll have to keep my guard up. It didn't take much longer for Team 7 and Tazuna to reach the landing dock. They slowly walked further into the small town. Water was on either side of them, and trees were growing out of the water made a nice view as you walked by. Naruto thought the scene was beautiful. They came to a small forest that led towards the main part of the small town. The group suddenly stopped when a snow rabbit scurried across the path. Sakura breathed out a sigh of relief. It was just a rabbit. Naruto immediately knew something was off. It's the dead middle of summer, it doesn't make sense for a snow rabbit to be around. It's just like that puddle. A giant sword flew across the clearing. Naruto sensed the danger and quickly grabbed Sakura and pulled her over out of the way while Sasuke did the same with Tazuna. Kakashi simply just dodged the blade entirely. The sword launched itself into a tree and instantly, a large, tall man stood on the handle. Kakashi Hatake, what an honor it is to meet you. Kakashi finally looked up from his book and placed it in his back pouch. Zabuza Momochi, I'd been wondering when you'd show up. A small scoff escaped Zabuza's bandaged face. I see the demon brothers didn't keep their mouths shut. It was the easiest interrogation I've ever been a part of. The missing ninja looked over the three genin. I must say, I'm shocked that your brats dodged my sword without your help. Sakura felt a shiver run down her spine as she physically flinched at the gaze of Zabuza. Sasuke didn't let it show, but he felt the same fear as his female teammate. Naruto stepped forward and stood next to his sensei. Hey sensei, mind if I take the lead? Not only were Sakura, Sasuke, and Tazuna shocked by Naruto's statement, Zabuza took the comment as an insult. A freaking genin wanting to take him alone? Zabuza vanished and appeared behind Naruto with his massive sword in hand. I'll show you to not underestimate me. Zabuza, with blinding speed, brought the sword down and sliced Naruto completely in half. Before anyone could react to the sudden attack, the two halves of Naruto suddenly exploded. Both Kakashi and Zabuza emerged from the smoke cloud unharmed. An exploding shadow clone? That's some technique to teach a genin. Zabuza commented. You must be a damn good teacher, Kakashi. The gray-haired man let out a small chuckle. I wish I could say I was, but Naruto is mostly self-taught. Zabuza wanted to question the man more but was stopped by the same blonde that appeared in front of him, ready to strike. Naruto could hear Sakura's happy cries behind him, but he paid no mind to them as he and Zabuza exchanged blows. The two dueled throughout the clearing as a very thick mist began to cover the surrounding area. Zabuza disengaged and disappeared into the mist. Naruto scanned the immediate area but couldn't see the S-rank missing ninja. Naruto let out a sigh as he turned and headed back to his team, where he could hear his sensei's screams for him to return. Kakashi let out the breath he had been holding when Naruto landed into the formation that Sakura and Sasuke had created to protect Tazuna. Kakashi looked back over his shoulder. You guys stay here with Tazuna, I'll handle Zabuza. Kakashi turned back and lifted his headband from over his eye, revealing his Sharingan. I guess I'd better get serious, he said to himself as he faded away into the mist. With Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke. The three genin couldn't see the battle between Kakashi and Zabuza, but they sure could hear it. The clashing of steel and the occasional taunt made Naruto started to grow restless. He wanted to challenge himself against Zabuza to see how far he had come. He couldn't gauge his abilities good enough in that short bout. Fighting Jiraiya was one thing, that was training, and the Sannin held everything back. This was real life, the possibility of death was high. Naruto felt an odd mixture of fear and excitement. Sasuke kept his calm and collected demeanor as he continuously scanned the dense fog for any threat. He was ready, he had prepared for this. But there was still that lingering doubt that always plagued the young Uchiha. The doubt that he would somehow blunder and lose his chance for revenge against the man that took everything from him. Sasuke would not fall, he lay dead at his feet. Sakura was the most visibly shaken by what was happening around her. She knew of the risks that came with being a ninja but didn't expect to be fighting an S-rank missing ninja on her first mission outside the village. She was anything but prepared for this. Sure, she felt safe with her teammates around, but that still didn't drown out the fear. Suddenly, the surrounding area grew silent. The sounds of the battle had stopped. The silence lasted a few minutes, making the team of Genin and Tazuna worried for their sensei. Naruto didn't like it and decided to deal with the fog around them to figure out what was going on. He went through a series of hand signs. Kazakiri no Jutsu. Wind burst technique. All the fog instantly vanished as a quick, yet strong wave of wind washed away the fog in the area. Zabuza had trapped Kakashi in a chakra-infused ball of water. There was a clone that stood in front of the real Zabuza, acting as the guard. Sasuke gasped when he noticed the Sharingan in Kakashi's left eye. He stared at Kakashi in a mix of shock and confusion. How the hell does he have the Sharingan? Kakashi isn't an Uchiha. That's not possible. Both Sakura and Tazuna, who knew of the Uchiha Keki Genkai, had similar thoughts overrunning their brains. Naruto narrowed his eyes slightly when he noticed the scar running over the eye. Surgically implanted? There's not many medics that can transfer body parts like that. I wonder if this was her doing? Naruto didn't dwell on his thoughts about Kakashi's Sharingan but instead on how he would free his sensei from that water prison. The blonde took notice that Zabuza, the real one, had his hand placed in the ball itself, as if he was holding it together. That gave the clone reason to act as the guard. Maybe he could hold off the clone while Sasuke figured out a way to release Zabuza's hold on the water prison. But then Sakura would be left alone to protect Tazuna. Naruto was thrown from his thoughts when Sasuke suddenly drew a windmill shuriken, specialty weapon for ninja. The two glanced at one another, a plan formulating instantly. Naruto smirked as he nodded, then pulled out a normal kunai. Now Naruto! The blonde threw the kunai as Sasuke also threw the giant shuriken. The clones simply sidestepped both weapons as they continued towards the real Zabuza. Zabuza merely dodged the kunai and caught the windmill shuriken. Ha! Is that all you got? Zabuza was about to break into a bit of laughter but was grabbed at the back and thrown into a tree, pulling his hand from the jutsu and ultimately breaking Kakashi free. Zabuza didn't have much time to defend himself from Naruto's quick strikes. As the two fought for a second time, Zabuza noticed that it was a clone of the blonde that threw him. This Gaki transformed a clone into a kunai? I never saw a hand sign. He must have pre-planned it and transformed the clone beforehand. Talk about thinking ahead. The real Naruto and the real Zabuza dueled once again as Kakashi quickly dealt with the Zabuza clone. Kakashi waited for an opening to engage Zabuza himself. Surprisingly, Naruto was holding his own against the Rouge Ninja. Zabuza jumped from Naruto, and Kakashi saw his opening and followed him out onto the pond. Sasuke and Sakura watched in amazement as Kakashi and Zabuza stood on the water as if it was solid ground. How was that even possible? The two charged at each other with the intent to end this once and for all. Zabuza with his sword and Kakashi with a simple kunai. The two fought for a while until something became very clear. Kakashi was copying Zabuza's every move. The swordsman ran to the right, but Kakashi followed him perfectly. Zabuza stopped and raised his hand while keeping his other hand to his front, preparing for a jutsu. Kakashi stood in the exact same stance. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu. Both Kakashi and Zabuza announced at the same time. The dragons began to swirl around the casters before colliding and resulting in a mist explosion. When the mist cleared, Kakashi and Zabuza were fighting hand to hand once more. It was clear Zabuza was having hard time keeping up with the copycat. All you're doing is copying me, you monkey bastard. Zabuza's eyes widened as he grit his teeth, growing tired of Kakashi's mind tricks. I'm going to make it so you can never open that damn mouth of yours again. Kakashi snapped through another series of hand signs were too quick to follow. Zabuza was too distracted by Kakashi's Sharingan and the distilled image of himself that appeared behind Kakashi. Suetun, Mizu no Bakuhatsu. Water surrounded Kakashi and Zabuza watched in utter shock as it exploded towards him. Zabuza slammed into a tree hard. Before he could fall to the ground, Zabuza was pinned to the tree by kunai that were thrown by Kakashi. It's over. Zabuza looked up towards Kakashi, who was now crouching on a tree branch above him. Can you see the future, Kakashi? Now emotionless, Kakashi stared at Zabuza. Yeah, and you're dead. The copycat ninja raised his kunai to send Zabuza to the afterlife, but was a second too late because two saban needles pierced the swordsman's neck. Kakashi watched closely as a hunter ninja appeared in front of Zabuza's dead body and let out a small chuckle. You're right, he did die. The ninja started to pick up the lifeless body as the mysterious ninja looked at Kakashi. I've been waiting for my chance to kill Zabuza for a while now. As one would think, he's not the easiest to track down, let alone take down in a fight. I thank you. Now, please excuse me so I can dispose of the body. Kakashi gave a nod as the hunter ninja turned to leave with the body in his arms. But the ninja was stopped when Naruto landed in the ninja's path with a raised eyebrow. I thought Hunter Ninja eliminated the body where it lies, no exception. Kakashi's eyes shot wide open as the realization hit him. How did I miss that? The Hunter Ninja dropped Zabuza's body as he took a battle stance. Naruto smirked and followed suit. Let's go wild. Naruto charged at the ninja but was shocked to find the ninja was fast, really fast. In the blink of an eye, the Hunter Ninja was behind Naruto and ready to strike. The blonde spun around and blocked two saban with his bare hands, the needles piercing through his hands completely. There was no time to draw a kunai, it was the only choice. No regard for your body, I see. A rare thing to find in someone so young. Naruto fully extended his arms, overpowering the masked Hunter Ninja. He may be fast, but physical strength was his weakness. The sound of something rather heavy hitting the ground drew Naruto's attention momentarily away from the ninja. Kakashi was lying face down on the ground. Both Sakura and Sasuke were already running towards him. The Hunter Ninja noticed the distraction and capitalized. He kicked Naruto in the stomach and pushed him. By the time Naruto recovered, the Hunter Ninja had already vanished with Zabuza's body. Damn it. Naruto sighed as he nursed his hand wounds. He clenched them slowly, trying to deal with the pain, as he walked over to his team, who were trying to help their sensei. What's wrong with him? Simple chakra exhaustion, nothing serious, Sasuke answered. Naruto nodded and studied his sensei now that he was closer to see the scar over his left eye. So, it was implanted. It must take a lot out of him to use it like he did. That's amazing that someone could transfer an eyeball from one person to another. It must be difficult, Sakura said. You aren't wrong. Transferring body parts from person to person is highly advanced medical ninjutsu. Hell, basic medical ninjutsu is hard to understand. You need a very good teacher. Sasuke looked at Naruto in confusion. You sound like you're talking from experience. Naruto looked lost in thought for a moment before shaking his head slightly, throwing whatever he was thinking about away. No. Just going off some scrolls I read. That wasn't a complete lie. You know medical ninjutsu? Sakura questioned. Naruto shrugged as he covered his hand wounds with bandages. The healing factor of the Kyuubi was starting to kick in and the steam that followed was beginning to leak out of his wounds. Naruto thought best to not get into that subject with his teammates. I wouldn't say I know medical ninjutsu, just familiar with how it works and able to perform self-aid when I need to. Sakura and Sasuke wanted to question the blonde more, since they knew very little about him, but Tazuna walked up to them. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I believe it would be best to leave this place and get somewhere safer. My house isn't too far from here, we can go there and recover. Team 7 nodded, all agreeing that it was the best to get somewhere safe for their sensei to recover. Naruto created 2 shadow clones to carry Kakashi as the team followed Tazuna to his house up the road. The couple of hours were spent traveling down the road towards Tazuna's house. Tazuna turned down a small road to a small house, quickly making his way to the door so he could open it for the Naruto clones to bring Kakashi in. But before the old man was able to open it, a younger woman burst through and ensnared him in a loving hug. Thank goodness you're safe. I was so worried. Tazuna let out a chuckle, breaking away from the woman's embrace. I'm quite alright, Tsunami. These ninjas are quite strong for their age. The woman known as Tsunami smiled at the genin before seeing Kakashi being carried by the 2 clones. Quickly, bring him. The lead clone nudged his head towards the door and led the other clone inside the house. Tazuna, Sakura, and Sasuke followed suit. Naruto stayed outside for a moment and examined the house. The outside of the home, despite the size, was nice. He couldn't say much though. His apartment wasn't even half the size of the house in front of him. Hell, his room on the mountain wasn't as big as his entire apartment. As the blonde entered, he examined the house further. The inside was much nicer than the outside would have you think by how it looked. He navigated himself through the house to the kitchen where the others already were. The clones had placed Kakashi on a couch in the room just beyond the kitchen. Tsunami made sure Kakashi was set up correctly and comfortably before coming into the kitchen and serving everyone with a cup of tea. Then she sat down herself next to Tazuna. Now that everyone is all settled, I guess we can introduce ourselves. I'm Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter. Thank you so much for keeping my father safe and bringing him all the way back here. Sakura smiled brightly, Sasuke nodded, and Naruto responded for the team. There's no need for thanks. It's our mission. Tsunami nodded and smiled. She did look for the genin for a moment before a questioning look came on her face. I have to say though, I'm surprised to see how young you 3 are. You must be strong since you've made it this far. Tazuna chuckled before looking over the genin himself. You'd be surprised. For the next couple of hours, Team 7 talked with Tazuna and Tsunami. It was mostly Sakura, Naruto and Sasuke would throw in their comments sporadically. Sakura went on about her home life and childhood, telling about how her parents were too overbearing about her being a ninja but supported her regardless. She left out the part about her being bullied for her forehead but continued to say she had a happy childhood. Sasuke was tight-lipped when the topic of their childhoods and past was given to him. The Uchiha simply gave a grunt and turned his head away when the others looked to him. Tazuna and Tsunami both knew of the incident and would not press the subject onto the boy. Sakura grew tense but was quickly relieved when Sasuke didn't respond. Naruto looked up from his somewhat blank stare and noticed all eyes were on him now. It was his turn to share. Despite Sasuke being tight-lipped about his past, Naruto's past was the one that was bathed in mystery. Sakura was all ears while Sasuke kept his eyes trained on the blonde. He let out a sigh. I don't suppose I can get out of this? Come on Naruto, Sakura whined, we don't know anything about you. Aren't teams supposed to be built on trust? Telling your secrets is one of the best things you can do to build that trust, Tsunami said. Sakura nodded furiously and turned back to her teammate. Naruto let out another sigh. What do you want to know? Where did you come from? Sasuke blurted out. I don't remember seeing you around the village until we started our classes at the academy. It was like you were made from thin air. Sakura waited intently for Naruto's response. She was glad to hear that she wasn't the only one who noticed. That's because I was never in the village until I was 6 years old. What do you mean? Where were you? Sakura questioned. Naruto looked at Sakura in her eyes. Elsewhere. There wasn't much room for discussion. Who were you with? Were your parents? Something flared up behind Naruto's eyes and Sakura could see it. It caught her attention so much so that she stopped mid-sentence, her words dying in her throat. The other three noticed Sakura's hesitation and looked at Naruto closer. His pupils were struggling to grow, like growing to slits. Parents. Naruto stared blankly for a moment before shaking his head, his eyes returning to normal. I didn't have parents. They died a long time ago. Sakura leaned in closer to the blonde. They died? Who did you live with? Who took care of you? His mind flashed Jiraiya, his nails digging into the wood of the table. Caretaker, he said through gritted teeth. Sasuke noticed the clenching jaw. Who's the caretaker? Naruto's response came in the form of low growl. Sennin Naruto shook his head to the left, then to the right, before suddenly standing up. His chair fell back from the sudden jerk. I need to go. Naruto quickly rushed out of the house and into the forest. Naruto, wait! Sakura chased after him. Sasuke let out another grunt before joining in the chase. He stopped momentarily and turned back to Tazuna and Tsunami. I apologize for my teammate. Then left the house. Naruto jumped from tree to tree, moving as fast as he possibly could before he tripped over his own feet and fell against the base of a random tree. He breathed heavily, not from his running but his struggle to keep control. He was shaking from trying to keep some type of control over himself. What the hell? What's happening? I've never felt a pull like that. The blonde went through one of the controlled breathing exercises that the Sandaime had taught him to calm himself and regain control. Once he felt that pull go away and finally became relaxed, Naruto reached into the pouch and pulled out a scroll to read. He glanced through the writing of the scroll until he found where he left off. The gate of view located in the stomach. The effects further increase speed and strength than the 5 gates before. No wonder the 8 inner gates are so legendary. Naruto tried to open the first gate a few years back, the gate of opening. The user must push all their chakra into a specified area of the body. It required unbelievable amounts of chakra control and the ability to hold the chakra into that pinpointed place. It showed Naruto just how bad he was at chakra control. He remembered the third saying the reason for his horrible control over his chakra was because of the massive amounts of chakra he possessed. The more chakra you have, the less control you have over it. When Naruto first tried to open the first gate, he nearly killed himself. He got frustrated by his lack of progress and channeled too much chakra to his brain. The Kyuubi said that the only reason he didn't die was because him. That was also the last time the Kyuubi had spoken to him. Naruto. The blonde looked up to see Sakura and Sasuke running towards him. Yes? He asked when the two stopped in front of him. Are you okay? Sakura panted. Yeah? Why wouldn't I be? Well, that little episode back there causes question. Sasuke quipped. Naruto let out a sigh. There wasn't much chance in getting out of giving some type of answer to their questions. They are my teammates, after all. Look, there is a lot you guys don't know about me. I understand that you want to know. I would too if the roles were reversed. But you have to give me some time. It's been a while since I've been around people that haven't tried to kill me. I'm not really used to it. People have tried to kill you. Sakura knelt to eye level. Naruto nodded, not meeting Sakura's eyes. Multiple times. Sakura blinked a few times, realizing that the blonde was not joking. The truth was written behind those blue eyes. The boy had faced death on more than one occasion. Even Sasuke noticed this and was surprised by this. Why? Naruto opened his mouth to speak but stopped, seemingly to rethink his answer. He looked down again. I'm not sure. It started when I came to the village, and it hasn't stopped. Who tries to kill you? Sasuke questioned, moving to stand next to the still kneeling Sakura. This question, Naruto did not answer. He rolled up his scroll while he stood up. Sasuke took notice to the kanji that was drawn on the scroll when it was placed in Naruto's back pouch. The Uchiha waited a few moments for Naruto to answer but realized it was never coming. You're studying the 8 gates? Naruto nodded. It's something I've wanted to learn for a long time, but that's easier said than done. Sakura had a confused look on her face. The 8 gates? The 8 inner gates are specific points in a person's chakra network. The idea of the 8 gates is to unlock those gates because they limit the amount of chakra that flows through your network. To open each gate, you have to channel most of your chakra through each point. Naruto answered. What does that do? You'll surpass your own physical limits with each gate you open, increasing your strength and speed tenfold, all at the expense of your body. You can cause extreme damage to your body if you overuse this. Hell, if you use the 8th gate you'll die. Rumors say if you are fighting someone who opens the 6th gate, or higher, to run, they'll have become too powerful to stop. Sasuke added. That's some technique, Sakura said shockingly. And you're studying this, Naruto? The blonde nodded again. My goal is to master all 8 gates, without the side effects of overusage. Even the 8th gate? The one that kills you? Sasuke raised his eyebrow. Naruto's smirk was all Sasuke needed to know Naruto's answer. You're serious? The smirk disappeared, and he placed his hand for his stomach, feeling the beast slightly stir within him. You never know unless you try. The trio made their way back to Tazuna's house just as the sun was beginning to set. They entered the house through main door and walked back into the kitchen. They were greeted by their sensei, who was seated at the table with a plate of food set in front of him. Yo! Kakashi-sensei! Sakura cheered. You're awake! I thought you'd be out for another day, at least. Naruto commented, taking a seat next to the man. Are you able to move much? Sasuke questioned. Before Kakashi could respond for himself, Tsunami answered for him. I forbade him from moving unless he needs to. But he's not the only one I'm worried about. The woman turned to Naruto. Are you okay? You gave us quite a scare when you ran out like that. Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly. I'm sorry, I just had an unpleasant memory. Sakura and Sasuke held their tongues from making any comments about what happened. It seemed to them, Naruto had a trigger if you wanted to piss him off. And if he was that strong without using his anger as a catalyst, who knows how strong he'd become. Anyway, I bet you 3 are hungry. You didn't get a chance to eat yet. I'll make something quick. The 3 waited patiently for the food while Tazuna and Kakashi went back to their conversation they were having before they were interrupted. Now, back to what we were talking about, Tazuna said. He sighed before continuing. It's a pretty big risk, don't you think? I won't lie, there isn't much of a positive side to our situation. We may have the numbers advantage, but we don't know how strong that boy. Girl. That hunter ninja was a girl. Naruto spoke up. Sakura raised her eyebrow. And how would you know that? Her physical strength was horrible compared to mine. Sakura grew physically agitated. Are you saying that a woman can't be stronger than a man? Naruto shook his head, keeping his collected demeanor. No. Men are just physically stronger than women by the fact that our bodies are made to be so. But there are women out there that can overpower any man they want. I know for one that can kill a person with a single punch. Now that's impressive, Sasuke commented. Back to our discussion, Kakashi began. We don't know how strong that girl is. I have no doubt that Naruto and Sasuke could take her, and Misabuza, but that would leave Sakura protecting Tazuna alone. I'm not downplaying Sakura's abilities, but if something to happen to where she was the only one standing between Tazuna and either of them, Sakura wouldn't be strong enough to hold them off. Sakura's head dropped slightly, trying to hide her disappointment. Naruto noticed this. I think it's safe to say that me and Naruto could take that masked ninja, Sasuke stated. Naruto nodded in agreement. And besides, I can use my clones to help with Tazuna's protection if need be. I'll make sure Sakura isn't left alone. Sakura picked her head back up, seeing Naruto smiling at her slightly. Hearing that he'd spare a few clones to help her out made her feel a little better. Kakashi smiled under his mask. Good to hear. Now we just need to figure out Gato's Loka. There's no point in trying to fight Gato. You're all going to die anyway. Naruto raised his eyebrow at the small boy that had just walked into the kitchen, not because of his words but because of his outfit. He was wearing green and white striped hat with green overalls. It was strange, if Naruto was completely honest. And what makes you so sure about that? The boy glared daggers at the blonde, clenching his fists in fury. Gato is too strong and too powerful to be killed. You'll be slaughtered on the spot. Just run away and stop pretending to be strong because you're not. Naruto chuckled. Kid, we're ninja. We accept the chance that we could die at any moment on a mission. It's honor to give your life for something bigger than yourself and letting others prosper because of your sacrifice. You don't get it. These people are trying to kill you. If you value anything in your life, you'd run and never come back. It's because we value what's important to us is why we welcome the chance of death. And I'm not the type to just hide under my covers when someone I know could be killed. I'll die before I let my comrades die. You have no idea what I've been through. You have no right to say anything to me. There is no such thing as a hero. The boy bolted back the way he came. There was sounds of rapid footsteps going up a set of stairs, then a door slamming shut. Tazuna let out a sigh, watching Tsunami quickly follow the boy upstairs. I apologize for my grandson. He hasn't been himself lately. He lost his father and completely turned himself off from the world. He's lost all hope. What happened to his father? Sakura asked. Kaiza was the hero of the city. He was the hope that kept this town alive. If something was going on, Kaiza was the one who put a stop to it. No matter the problem, he'd fix it. That is until Gato arrived. Gato saw Kaiza as a threat to his corporation. To show that nothing like that would stand, Gato publicly executed Kaiza. What? Sakura gasped. Even Naruto and Sasuke were shocked. Naruto turned his head towards the stairs, knowing the boy was up there. Ever since that day, nothing has ever been the same. The town lost hope. Both Tsunami and Inari changed and still haven't recovered. There was a silence that followed the Tazuna's words. There wasn't much to say after a story like that. Kakashi let out a sigh. I'll be waking you three up early tomorrow. We have things to do. The next day. The following morning, Team 7 woke up early. Nothing Sasuke and Naruto weren't already used to, but Sakura had never woken up before 6 o'clock in the morning. It was certainly a shock to the pink-haired girl when she was woken by her crutch-bound sensei at 4:30. She was left questioning why she was woken up so early because Kakashi left immediately after to wake up the two males, who were already awake. Sakura was having a hard time focusing as she trailed her two teammates. She couldn't help herself from yawning almost constantly. But she was surprised every time she looked at the backs of Naruto and Sasuke. They both appeared to be wide awake, never letting a yawn escape their mouths. How can you two be so awake so early? Sakura yawned, for seemingly the 100th time. Naruto glanced back to his female teammate. I do a few stretches to wake myself up. They help me limber up for my training. Is that we're up so early? To train? Sakura rubbed her eye, trying to suppress her yawn. It would make sense. Sasuke spoke up. Why else would Kakashi-sensei want us up this earlier a day after fighting an S-rank missing shinobi? Sakura knew Sasuke's question was rhetorical and decided it was best not to answer. The three followed the path a bit further until they came to a small opening in the many trees where Kakashi was waiting for them, leaning on his one crutch and reading his favorite book. He lowered the book and gave a nice smile to his students. Good morning, you three. Glad to see you all woke up on time. Sakura grumbled. You woke me up, sensei. True, but I half expected you to fall back asleep and not show up until later in the morning. Sakura grumbled to herself even more as Naruto stepped forward. So, what are we doing out here, sensei? Especially so early? Well, Naruto, we don't have much time before Zabuza recovers and comes after Tazuna again. I need to do everything I can to get you three ready for that time. How long do you think we have? Sasuke asked. Kakashi rubbed his chin thoughtfully for a moment before answering. A few days, a week at the most. Naruto shifted his neck, popping it a few times, then shifting it to the other side. Then let's get started. He slammed his fist into his hand. I appreciate the enthusiasm, Naruto, but we are starting off with something simple. The tree climbing exercise. Sensei? Sakura spoke up. We're ninja. I think climbing a tree isn't something we need to train on. Okay, Sakura, go climb that tree without using your hands. Kakashi pointed to the tree to his left. That's not possible, sensei. Oh, really? Well, that's why we are going to train. Kakashi turned to the tree he pointed at, but Naruto spoke up and stopped him. Kakashi-sensei, I already know how to do this. The gray-haired man's lone visible eye slightly widened and turned back. You do? Naruto nodded before sprinting towards the tree and continued his path up the tree, without breaking stride. His two teammates watched very intently as he ran all the way to the top of the tree, showing it took very little effort. He crossed his arms and smirked arrogantly as he stood triumphant atop the tree. How long have you known how to do this? Kakashi called out, mildly impressed. Naruto thought for a moment. Since I was 6 or 7. It was in one of the scrolls that Ojaizen gave me to study from. Sasuke grit his teeth in frustration. He could see Naruto's cocky smirk from the bottom of the tree. He also clenched his fists in aggravation as he stared at the blonde. I swear to Kami, I'll beat the cockiness out of him one day. He thinks he's so much better than everyone else. I'll be the one to change that. Sakura stared up in awe. Naruto ran up that tree with relative ease. It just proved that he wasn't lying that he had mastered this at such a young age. She would give anything to have the natural talent Naruto, and Sasuke for that matter, had. She had a long way to go if she ever wanted to make it to his current level. Mastering this will allow you to defy gravity, Kakashi said, now standing upside down on a branch. Sakura and Sasuke's shock grew even more when they noticed this. Focusing your chakra to your feet will make you stick to the surface of the tree, almost like a glue. How will this help in our fight against Zabuza and that hunter ninja? Sasuke questioned. Before Kakashi could answer, Naruto fell past his sensei and landed in front of his teammates. Chakra control helps improve your stamina and help with performing jutsu. Theoretically, mastering this technique can help you master any jutsu you want, says the scroll, that is. Correct, Naruto. Kakashi crouched his way back down the tree and stood next to his blonde student. But don't think this is an easy thing to learn, even the most skilled ninja can have trouble with this. Channel too much chakra and the tree will break, don't channel enough and you won't stick and fall. Use a kunai to mark your progress as you climb. Sakura and Sasuke nodded, realizing precision is the key to this. They both took out a kunai and turned to a different tree. Kakashi watched them for a moment before looking at his blonde-haired student. Seeing how you already know this, I would go ahead and start you on something else, but that would require me to be at full strength. It's okay, sensei. I'm used to training by myself. I prefer it really. Naruto turned and headed to a different part of the forest. Just send for me when it's time to head back. Hours later. Naruto was laying on the forest floor, limbs spread out. His eyes were closed as he enjoyed the cooling breeze. He was taking a break from his training to catch his breath and to study a new scroll, but the ground was too comfortable now to grab his storage scroll. There was a small shuffle of the grass next to him. He opened his eyes to see a girl, about his age, with long black hair and wear a pink sleeveless kimono with small plum-colored swirls, standing over him with a basket in hand. The girl's face was rather attractive. She was cuter than Sakura. You'll catch a cold if you sleep out here, she said sweetly. Naruto sat up and the girl stepped back. He wanted to argue that he wasn't sleeping, but he knew if she hadn't just come here he would probably be sleeping. He caught something familiar about this girl. Who are you? She smiled again, kneeling to his level. My name is Haku. Nice to meet you, Haku. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Haku kept smiling as she looked over the blonde. You're a ninja? Naruto smirked and nodded. You bet. What are you doing out here all by yourself? I was training. Haku smiled cutely. It seems quite hard if you look like this by midday. Naruto nodded. I have to train really hard to accomplish my goal. What's your goal? I want to become strong, really strong. But you already look really strong. Naruto shook his head. No, I just don't want to be strong. I want to be the strongest of all. I want to prove to my home village they were wrong about me, wrong for everything they've done. And then get the acknowledgement if the one person that I hold above everyone else. Haku stared at Naruto, examining him and his words, but covering her mouth with her hand and giggling slightly. What's so funny? That one person whose acknowledgement means the most to you, someone you care deeply about or someone who's wronged you. No, this person hasn't wronged me. I've sworn to protect them with my life. Haku's eyes went dull, staring blankly slightly to the side. Her childhood and past flashing through her mind. The loss of her parents. Surviving on the streets in the cold winter. All leading to the point she met him. When you have something you want to protect, that is when you become truly strong. Naruto let the words sink into his young, yet experienced brain. Those words would come to be the very foundation for Naruto as he grew up, growing into the man that would change the world. He just didn't know yet. I understand that very well. The two shared a heartwarming, innocent smile. Then Haku turned to leave. You will become strong. Let's meet again sometime. Naruto nodded. Of course. Oh, and Haku? He waited for the girl to stop and turn her back to him. Next time don't let an enemy ninja get that close to you. The girl turned fully around, shock filling her features. How'd you know? Your scent. I remember it. Are you some kind of tracker ninja? Naruto shook his head. No. Just a man of all trades. Haku narrowed her eyes. After our little encounter, I did a little bit of research on you. Despite your file being double S rank, it was quite easy for Gato to gain access to it. Perfect scores on the graduation exam in Konoha's academy, yet you would skip for weeks at a time. How is it a boy, who was considered dead last, can become the strongest of all? Never judge a book by its cover. Haku suddenly turned to leave. Remember your own words. I'm assuming Zabuza is still alive and that we'll see him soon? Naruto's words were more of a statement instead of a question, knowing full well that the swordsman was very much alive. Haku turned her head back. Zabuza and I still have a job to complete for Gato. That bridge builder must die. Naruto rolled his shoulders, loosening himself, as he stood up. I can't let that happen, Haku. It's my mission to protect that old man. You're not strong enough to take on a person like Gato. He may not be a ninja, but money holds a very similar power over people like Chakra can. Naruto scoffed. You're the second person to tell me I shouldn't fight that guy. All it's doing is making me want to fight him more and more. It's getting me all excited. Haku shook her head. You don't understand. But you will. Gato does not have a moral code, nothing is off limits. He will find out your greatest weakness, and use it against you with no remorse. No matter who or what it is. Naruto narrowed his eyes, recalling the story of Inari's father from the other night. If Gato was willing to publicly kill a man for simply being helpful to his community, then what other dark things was this man capable of doing? The next day was completely devoted to training for Team 7. Sakura and Sasuke were continuing to master the tree climbing exercise while Naruto was tasked to protect Tazuna when he went to work on the bridge, though Naruto read his scrolls while the men worked. Sasuke struggled with the chakra control at first. While Kakashi had given him the warning that too much or too little chakra wouldn't work, the actual controlling the chakra was the hard part for the Uchiha. It seemed that this was the first thing Sasuke struggled with for a long time, and it showed. His frustration mounted even more when he saw how easily Sakura had taken to the exercise, adding to the frustration he already had because Naruto had already mastered the technique. In Kakashi's words, Sakura has a natural talent for chakra control, the best he had ever seen in all his years. There was a trade-off for that talent. The girl had subpar chakra levels even for a genin. She doesn't have much chakra to control, so that's where her talent for it comes from. But it's still impressive to see someone to have such control over her chakra. It wouldn't take much to increase her chakra levels. Then she'd really be a force to be reckoned with. Naruto had jokingly said that she'd be a good fit for the medical field, but Kakashi knew of the boy's experiences and knew he was being serious. When Kakashi went to get Naruto after the day's training was over, he was surprised to see how hard the boy was training. The field Naruto was set up and was filled with open scrolls spread out throughout the field. The trees had kunai embedded in them, along with shurikens and other various ninja tools. Kakashi also noticed that there had been sort of battle, multiple in fact. There were fist-size holes in the trees, along in the ground, and Naruto was cut and bruised beyond measure, though his extreme healing factor was already kicking in. It was a gauntlet, as Naruto called it. A continuous funnel of shadows clones as his opponents. Groups of 10 shadow clones would enter every couple of minutes until Naruto either passed out or told them to stop. Naruto never stopped until he passed out. Kakashi gave Naruto the day off, and tasked him out to protect Tazuna while he and his crew worked on the bridge. He originally was going to have Sakura go with him, and have Naruto and Sasuke work on their teamwork, but seeing how good Sakura was at chakra control and knowing how subpar she was at everything else, he felt it was time for some one-on-one training with the young kunoichi. It didn't take more than half the day for Sakura to have the tree climbing exercise down completely. Sasuke was still struggling with the precision that was required, but he was making progress. Kakashi complimented Sakura on her success before taking her to a different part of the forest for some more training. The bridge. Naruto rolled up his third scroll of the day as the bell sounded for lunch break. The blonde sat on the finished part of the railing as he watched the construction workers put down their tools and break for some lunch. Tazuna finished talking to one of the workers before making his way towards him. Naruto did take notice that the man Tazuna had just finished talking to eyed him for a moment before walking away himself. That man was not the first to eye him like that. Anything come up? Naruto shook his head. No. It's been quiet all morning. Think anything will happen for the rest of the day? Nah. Kakashi-sensei said it would be a couple days before Zabuza would resurface. Besides, Zabuza wants to kill Kakashi before you. Tazuna became confused. I don't understand. It's a pride thing. Naruto waved it off. Mind telling me why your workers have been eyeing me all morning? Tazuna sighed. They don't feel safe with a kid watching them. I vouched for you, but it's no use. They think Gato will kill them regardless of who's protecting them. I honestly thought you were over-exaggerating about Gato. It seems I was wrong. Gato's hold over this town is like a sickness. If nothing is done about it, it'll only get worse. Naruto sat thoughtfully, rubbing his chin slowly and fiddled with the scroll in his hand. He wasn't going to come up with anything sitting here, he needed to walk through the town. He stood from the railing and began to leave the worksite. Where are you going? Naruto didn't break stride. I'm getting some lunch. I won't be long. A few hours later. Kakashi couldn't recall a time ever in his life was so impressed yet so disappointed in another human being, young girl no less. He had been training Sakura since midday, and two things became very clear to the Jonin. Sakura's knowledge of the ninja world was boundless, she easily rivaled that Naruto boy in intelligence. But how could someone with such promise have virtually no skills in all other aspects of being a ninja? Sakura's genjutsu was far beyond her two teammates, and her ability to learn at such a fast pace was on par with Naruto and his shadow clones. Honestly, Sakura had the making to be the strongest kunoichi of her generation. There was just one thing holding her back. Hey Kakashi-sensei, how do you think Sasuke is doing with his tree climbing? Do you think we should go and check up on him? Kakashi was never one to let his disappointment show, but a very audible sigh escaped his masked face. Don't worry about Sasuke, Sakura. He's strong enough to handle a simple chakra control exercise. Now let's go over some basic taijutsu techniques and see how well you do with them. But maybe he could use my help? Sasuke was struggling when we left earlier. More frustration showed, Sakura continued to be oblivious to it. Sakura, you need to stop this obsession with Sasuke. Or, at least, contain so it doesn't interfere with your training, because if this continues, you will die, and you will let your teammates down. Do you understand? Haven't you ever been in love, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura had a certain glow in her eyes that physically made Kakashi flinch slightly. I just can't help myself when I think about him. He's just so dreamy. Sakura squealed in delight. Sakura! Kakashi finally snapped. Enough. Let me make one thing clear to you. Sasuke is not someone you can win over by simply looking good and gawking at everything he does. There's only thing that gets Sasuke's attention, and that is strength. Just look at Naruto. He's ahead of Sasuke in nearly every aspect, and everything he does is to catch up to him so that he can beat him one day. He's not paying attention to you because he doesn't like your outfit or your hair, it's because you aren't strong. Sakura's sudden drop in excitement and into a sullen mood made Kakashi think he might have gone a bit too far, but the girl needed to hear this. Maybe it would snap her out of her fangirling stage once and for all. Listen, Sakura, is gaining Sasuke's acknowledgement really your main goal in life? There isn't anything else you want to achieve? Sakura thought about her answer, keeping her gaze hidden under her long, pink bangs. I want to be recognized, be known as a great kunoichi. I didn't come from a clan or a rich name. I want to be known as the kunoichi that came from nothing but got everything. That surprised Kakashi. He wasn't expecting something like that from his female student. He never would have guessed she felt like this. He always assumed that she joined the academy for the sole reason to capture Sasuke's heart. Now, that's a goal, Sakura. I'm not saying your goal to get Sasuke's attention is a bad goal overall, it's just not a good goal for this life you've chosen. Emotions are what make us human, but you can't let them cloud your judgment, especially yours, Sakura. Naruto and Sasuke might be the muscle, but you are the brain. Neither of them are as smart as you are. You can surpass them in time, but only if you train hard enough. Sakura looked up at her sensei in shock and disbelief. Do you really think so, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi gave his classic eye smile. I do think so. Now come on, let's try those taijutsu exercises. With Naruto. Naruto had perched himself on a tree branch that looked over a large mansion, surrounded by a tall, metal fence with men with weapons constantly patrolling it. He kept himself hidden by the leaves of the tree, but it wasn't like the men inside the fence would notice him simply crouching on the branch. They weren't aware enough to look up. Naruto watched the patterns of the patrols for a few minutes, seeing and memorizing the pattern they used. They were simple bandits with no special training, mainly training in how to utilize chakra. At best, they were decently trained in using the swords they carried. Finding the mansion wasn't hard, seeing how it was built in the middle of the town, but that's not why he took so long to get there. He wondered if the town, seeing of what Tazuna had said about the town losing its hope, was true. Unfortunately, it was. If Naruto was blind, he'd be convinced he was walking through a ghost town. He had never seen such emptiness and so many people. He wondered if this Kaiser could inspire hope in people like Tazuna said he did. A lot more than Naruto first thought. Those people are practically zombies. Gato has completely run this town dry of, not only its resources but its morale too. But I can feel the contempt for him, their hatred feels like a heavy fog. Given the right push and they'll revolt against him. But what could that be? Naruto pondered this idea for another few minutes before deciding it was time to head back to the bridge. He had already been gone for quite some time. He knew there wasn't any danger lurking, at least not now, or else the shadow clone he kept hidden would have dispelled itself and warned him, via the memory transfer. He took one more look at the mansion before jumping out of the tree and heading back to the bridge. Later that night. Both did very well today. Kakashi complimented his two students on their hard day of training. The two genin both showed pride in the praise. Sakura more than Sasuke. Sasuke finally mastered the tree climbing exercise while Sakura and I discovered her strengths and weaknesses that she needs to work on. Naruto nodded, liking the fact that his sensei told him about his teammates' training, as he ate the dinner that Tsunami had made for them. Frankly, this was one of the better meals he had eaten in his life. He had grown accustomed to stale milk and overcooked ramen, not to mention the literal bugs he was fed back on Mount Myoboku. Anything happen on the bridge, Naruto? Naruto shook his head, swallowing what food he had in his mouth. It was quiet all day. I read my scrolls most of the day. Until you disappeared for 3 hours for lunch. Tazuna scoffed. Kakashi looked at Tazuna, making sure he wasn't lying or making an accusation, before turning back to his blonde-haired student, waiting for him to explain. I took a walk and lost track of time. Oh well. The blonde shrugged. Nothing happened, and I'm pretty sure that the workers stopped complaining about a kid protecting them and actually got some work done. Besides, I left a shadow clone behind just in case anything was to happen. Kakashi wasn't having it. What did you really do, Naruto? Naruto contemplated for a moment before letting out a sigh. I wasn't lying about taking a walk. I wanted to see if what Tazuna said was true, about the town losing all its hope. It was worse than I thought. So, I decided to see if Gato was as powerful as he has been made out to be. What did you come up with? Sakura questioned. The only thing Gato has is money. Everything he's built is for a profit. Sasuke deadpanned. Well, that's obvious. That means he's easy to be taken down. The people that he has guarding his mansion are low-life bandits that will do anything for the highest bidder. Maybe one of them can use chakra like a ninja, but it wouldn't be much, a mid-level genin jutsu that I know we could handle. Kakashi raised his one visible eyebrow. What are you getting at, Naruto? We go in during the night, full force or stealth, and take Gato out while he sleeps. We get ahead of Zabuza and take out his reason for wanting to kill Tazuna. Or simply take the money and give it to Zabuza, stopping him from coming after us for taking away his payday. Everyone at the table was impressed by Naruto's idea for dealing with Gato, and Zabuza in extension. It was thought out and covered almost all angles. Why you want to kill him? It's not a matter of want but need. That man must die. There is no consideration for the damned Sakura. Sakura was shocked by this. Not by her teammate's words but in the tone of how he said it, the look in his eyes. If Naruto would kill, he would feel no remorse, no pity. That's risky. Tazuna spoke. Something could happen if all of you go together. I'm not trying to be selfish, but I gotta look out for my family's safety. I understand fully, but I wasn't thinking it'd be a team mission. Kakashi narrowed his eye. A solo mission? You actually think you can take on an entire guard mount by yourself? And here I thought you were smart, Dobe. For your information, team, I can take on this guard mount. I watched them for a few hours today and their patterns aren't that hard to figure out. Besides, if something were to happen, I've got my shadow clones to back me up. I can make more than enough to deal with the amount of bandits he has guarding his fence and whoever he keeps close. I'd be in and out in 20 minutes, 30 at the most. The gray-haired Jonin rubbed the bottom of his masked chin, weighing in all the scenarios that could happen if things would go wrong. The only way Kakashi could see something going wrong was if Zabuza or that hunter ninja was there with Gato. Even then, he had a feeling Naruto had something up his sleeve just in case there was an opponent he couldn't handle, courtesy of Jiraiya and or the Nine Tails. What makes you think you can just walk in there and kill Gato? Everyone turned to the entrance of the kitchen to see Inari. Just a part of the mission, Naruto answered. You'll never be strong enough to kill him. I told you that. Naruto was tired of this freaking kid telling him that he's not strong and Gato was unkillable. Sasuke was too. Look, boy, we are ninja for a reason. Quit thinking we aren't prepared to die. It is our mission to protect your grandfather, and by extension you and your mother. You're all wasting your time. There's not a damn thing you can do against him. Inari once again rushed out and sprinted up the stairs to his room. Tsunami stood up to follow him again, but Naruto put his hand out to stop her, then stood up himself. I'll go talk to him. The boy's mother was hesitant to let someone she barely knew go and talk to her son about his troubles, but Tazuna put a hand on her shoulder, telling her to let Naruto try to get through to him. If her father trusted him, then she might as well too. Naruto made his way up the stairs and heard the boy sobbing behind his door at the end of the hall. He listened for a moment, hearing him say "Dad" in between the sobs. He sighed softly, then knocked on the door. Go away, Mom. Inari sniffled. I'm not your mom, nor do I want to be. The door opened and Inari poked his head through the small crack. What do you want? I understand what you're feeling. No, you don't. Nobody knows how it feels to lose. Just shut up and listen for once, you little twerp. Inari grumbled to himself before opening his door the rest of the way. He realized Naruto wasn't going to go away. Naruto entered the room and looked on the boy's desk. There were tear stains on a ripped picture of a man. He assumed that was Kaiza, Inari's father. He turned to the boy, who was now sitting on the bed. I know you're angry. And you have the right to be angry. Any sane person would be angry when losing their father, especially the way you lost him. I don't blame you for being angry. But you make it sound like you're the only one who has lost someone important. Inari scoffed. Who have you lost? I doubt you've lost someone as important as a parent. Well, you aren't wrong. I never knew my parents to think of them as important to me. Inari looked up in shock. Though, I think it hurts a bit more when the one person who practically raised you leaves without a word. The only one to ever care for you just dropping you like you were nothing. Inari noticed a change in Naruto's eyes. It wasn't anger or sadness, like he had seen in himself. It almost looked like longing to have someone to care. He blinked a few times before speaking again. You aren't the only person to lose someone important, and you never will be. Use your anger to better yourself so you don't lose another important person. Be a hero for once. With those parting words, Naruto left the room and closed the door behind him. Midnight. Naruto had a hard time wrapping his head around the fact that Kakashi actually agreed to his plan to take down Gato during the night. What surprised the blonde more was that it was only the man himself as Naruto's backup. What that meant confused Naruto. Did Kakashi trust him more than the others, or did he simply want them to get plenty amount of rest? Frankly, Naruto didn't care either way. He was just glad he was finally getting to do something. Naruto was perched on the same branch he was earlier that day, waiting for the right moment to jump over the fence and sneak his way into the mansion without being seen. He waited for another few minutes, allowing the guards to change out, before doing just that. Once inside became a bit more challenging. He wasn't able to scout the guards' movements from his position on the tree, so he would have to play it by ear and have a bit of luck to find Gato's sleeping quarters. His instincts told him that Gato would sleep on the top floor, so that any intruder would have to go through a level or two of his hired guard mount. Naruto's instincts were right. Gato's room was on the top floor of his mansion. The man must be either very trusting of his guards, or he simply didn't want someone watching him while he slept. Naruto didn't care either way. Naruto choked out the lone bandit that stood guard outside Gato's room and dragged him out of sight. He thought it was odd that there was only one guard, but decided to continue on. He tried to open the door, but it was locked. He should have figured that one. The blonde knelt down and began to pick the lock with a small pick and a thin rod of metal. He was just about to click the final pin in place, but he felt a knife against his neck, or what he thought was a knife. You're impressive, Naruto. I never would have thought someone could sneak past all these guards and myself. Naruto moved his head ever so slightly to look at his captor. Haku. I'm not sure why, but I completely overlooked the fact that you might be here. Must have been that pretty face that you hide under your mask. Naruto couldn't see it, but Haku was smirking. Not as smart as you think you are. Apparently not. Get up. Naruto hesitated for a moment before complying the order. Haku kept the samban against the blonde's neck as she moved to the door. She knocked 3 times before it unlocked and Zabuza emerged, his massive sword already drawn. Just beyond Zabuza was the man himself, Gato. It was a freaking kid that snuck past my entire guard mount. Seeing Gato angry made Naruto smirk in pride, which was quickly punched off his face by Gato. Their pay was just cut in half. Wow, big talk coming from a man in his boxers. Gato hit Naruto in his knee with his cane, bringing the blonde to his knees once more. I do not think I won't kill you. Keep running your mouth and I will have your head sliced clean off your body. Naruto didn't show any emotion or indication that he was even remotely scared by Gato's threat, and he knew full well Gato wouldn't hesitate to give that order. He was a little curious why he wasn't killed on the spot. He learned long ago to never question a blessing. I will agree with Haku. I never imagined a genin would have the skills to sneak past the mansion of guards virtually unnoticed, Zabuza said. Just lucky, I guess. No one is that lucky, you were taught. And there aren't many out there that have such good stealth techniques. Naruto's fist began to clench. I don't care if he was taught or not, Zabuza. He's here and needs to be dealt with. Zabuza eyed his employer momentarily before lifting his sword off the ground and resting it on Naruto's shoulder. He rose it far above his head, posed to bring it down with grace and accuracy. Don't worry, you'll see your teammates by tomorrow night. Naruto felt only a slight pinch of pain when the sword separated his head from his neck. There wasn't even a shocked expression on the blonde's, now, rolling head. There was a small moment of silence before the body and head burst into a cloud of smoke. Son of a bitch. It was a clone the whole time. And you couldn't tell the difference? That kid had mastered the Kagebushin no Jutsu, a stronger and better version. Meaning it's nearly impossible to tell a difference. Then what am I paying you for? You're nothing more than an overrated butcher. Zabuza snapped and grabbed Gato by his neck. The business owner gasped and pleaded for air. The former Kiri ninja could easily snap Gato's neck, and had to resist the urge to do so, but knew if he killed Gato then his plan to overthrow the Mizukage and the Kirigakure government would die with him. You watch your mouth, Gato. Zabuza dropped the smaller man to the floor and turned to walk away, Haku following. Gato rubbed his throat, trying to soothe the pain. Not only are you going to pay Zabuza, that blonde kid will too. Hidden in the tree. Naruto breathed out heavily as the memories of his clone came back to him like a rushing river. He looked over to Kakashi, who was patiently waiting by reading his perverted book. Well, how'd it go? They're coming after Tazuna tomorrow. Kakashi nodded. It's a good thing I was planning to have the full team on protection detail tomorrow. Naruto nodded. So why didn't want me to use my Bushin Daibakuha? Great clone explosion technique. I could have taken all three of them out, and we wouldn't have to worry. Kakashi shrugged. Call it pride. A pink-haired genin sat down on the finished part of the guard railing, watching a dozen men carry out different tasks. Next to her were her two teammates, each watching their own things. Sasuke watched the inside of his eyelids and Naruto rested his arms on the railing and looked out over the body of water under them. The sensei of the team kept his eye glued to his favorite book. Tazuna directed his crew almost flawlessly, handing out directions as soon as a task was finished. It seemed the end was in sight at the rate the building crew was going. But there was still one, large, lingering problem. Be sure you three stay on high alert. We aren't sure when Zabuza will show up, be on your guard. The three genin nodded and continued with what they were doing. A few moments of silence passed. I see your solo mission went without a problem. Sasuke scoffed. Naruto rolled his eyes. I thought we got past this last night. I could have easily done exactly what you did, probably even better. Of course you could have, Sasuke. Sakura squealed. My idea, my mission. Besides, Kakashi-sensei only agreed to it was because he wanted me to send a shadow clone instead. It would have been stupid not to. Kakashi spoke up. What's done is done, Sasuke, let it go. Focus on the present. Sasuke grumbled to himself before finally letting it go. Kakashi finally looked up from his book and glanced at the sky, noticing the position of the sun. Well, now would be as good a time as any. What are you talking about, sensei? Sakura questioned. Tsunami is making sandwiches for us and Tazuna's crew. She said they would be ready to be picked up around this time. I'll go. Naruto instantly volunteered. I'm fast enough to get there and back before anything can happen. Actually, I was thinking to send Sakura. Why me? Naruto's shadow clones will be vital in protecting Tazuna. Don't worry, Sakura, I'm sure nothing will happen. Just don't pander around. Sakura was a bit hesitant about this, but it was her orders and there was no room to argue with her sensei. She nodded before turning to leave the bridge. The team watched her until they couldn't see her anymore. She's nervous, Sasuke stated. Can you blame her? Sakura's never been in a situation like this. Just give her some time, she'll come around. Naruto responded. You've always been very protective of her. What's the deal with you two? Naruto didn't say anything, and clearly giving no indication that he would. But Sasuke did notice that the blonde had put his hand inside his orange and blue jacket and kept it there for a few moments, as if he was holding something. It was then the trio caught eye of a thick mist beginning to roll into the immediate area. Naruto and Sasuke removed themselves from the railing, getting into their fighting stances. Kakashi had already lifted his headband, fully exposing his Sharingan, standing at the ready with a kunai in hand. They moved in front of Tazuna and watched all the workers run to safety on the finished part of the bridge. Two silhouettes materialized in the mist until they became full. Zabuza and Haku emerged with weapons drawn. "You two ready?" Both Naruto and Sasuke nodded, then charged at full speed. With Sakura. Sakura wasted no time making back to the house, running as fast as she could in hopes to lessen the time she was away. She may not have been the strongest of her team, but she was smart enough to watch her surrounds as she headed back to Tazuna's home. Sakura's eyes didn't catch anything out of the ordinary when she finally arrived at the home. She quickly entered and called out to Tsunami. "Hey Tsunami! I'm here to get the..." Sakura never got to finish her sentence because was quickly hit in the back of the neck with the hilt of a sword. Her entire world went black instantly. With her last split second of vision, she saw Tsunami and Inari on their knees with their hands tied behind their backs. "That was easier than I thought," the swordsman said. "I figured they would have sent that dark-haired kid or the kid that broke into the mansion last night," the other bandit added. "The mom and the kid are the ones Gato wanted, this girl is just added leverage." Tsunami and Inari watched helplessly as the swordsman bandit picked up Sakura and threw her in front of them. Tsunami feared the worst when the man drew his sword. Inari feared for his life, something he had never felt before. He wasn't sure how, but he was able to wiggle his hands free from the rope. He headbutted the swordsman on the groin and bolted out the door. "Damn it! You were supposed to tie them up," the swordsman groaned, holding his hands over his crotch. "I did. The little bastard must have broke free somehow. It's not like it matters though, the mother and this girl will be perfect." With Kakashi. Kakashi blocked the downward swing of Zabuza's sword with his kunai. He parried the swing and countered. Zabuza barely dodged, receiving a small cut in his side. The swordsman jumped back while going through a series of hand signs. Kakashi went through the same signs. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu. Water style, Water Dragon Jutsu. Two giant dragons created themselves out of the water from below the unfinished bridge, sky rocketing up and smashing into each other, causing water to cover the bridge. "You freaking copycat." "Well, that is my name." Zabuza growled, then noticed the water that was splattered all over the bridge. He chuckled to himself. "Your students are good as dead." Kakashi narrowed his eyes. "What are you getting at?" "This entire bridge is covered in water. Haku is unbeatable now." Kakashi raised his eyebrow in confusion, turning to look over his shoulder at his students' battle. With Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto and Sasuke were doing well against Haku. Their teamwork was proving to be too much for the masked ninja to handle. Haku may have the speed advantage, being able to dodge some of the attacks, but Naruto and Sasuke had the numbers. It was 2 against 1. Speed could only get someone so far. Naruto went into a slide while Sasuke jumped into the air, in hopes to catch the ninja off guard while she was airborne. It seemed her reflexes were just as good as her speed. Haku was able to maneuver her body to dodge Sasuke's attack. This turned out better than I wanted. The two refocused their attention on the girl. "Do you really think you can beat both of us together? Honestly, I'm not even sure you could beat one of us by yourself." Sasuke glared at the masked girl, looking for any indication of an attack. "Normally, I'd agree with you. But there is just so much water around you and both my hands are free to use my greatest jutsu." Haku began to go through hand seals at such a fast rate that even Kakashi's Sharingan was having a hard time keeping up with them. Both Sasuke and Naruto's eyes widened drastically as the water around them began to rise. They suddenly formed into large, floating mirrors that were made of ice. Makio Hyosho. Ice style, crystal ice mirrors. Before either Naruto and Sasuke could react, they were trapped in a dome of crystal ice. Haku stepped into one of the mirrors and her image was projected onto each mirror. By Sasuke's count, there was